right, go ahead.
Okay, this is the May 13th, 2021 meeting of the Township Committee of East Amwell Township.
In compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act, this is a regular scheduled meeting pursuant to the resolution adopted on January 4th, 2021, with a meeting notice published in the Hunterdon County Democrat issue of January 14th, 2021. A copy of the agenda was forwarded to the Hunterdon County Democrat, Times of Trenton, Star Ledger, Courier News, posted on the bulletin board and township website, and filed in the township clerk's office on April 11th, 2021.
Could I have a motion for us to enter into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. that's fine.
Can we get a motion to, a census to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Everybody okay with that? All right. Okay, are we ready, Krista? Are we on video now? Okay. All right. Good evening, everybody. This is the May 13th, 2021 monthly meeting of the Township Committee of East Amwell Township. I am Rick Wolf, the mayor. Do you want to do the roll call?
Mr. Castellano?
Here.
Mr. Mills?
Here.
Ms. Ramsey? Here. Mr. Sobieski?
Here.
And Mr. Wolf?
Here. Could we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Krista, anything on the agenda review?
No.
Okay. We're not ready yet to present the awards, correct, Allison?
No, they'll be here about 8:30.
Okay, so then I'm going to defer the item 6 on the agenda until the award winners arrive, and then we'll squeeze them in at that time. 7 is announcements. Voter registration deadline for the primary election is Tuesday, May 18th. There will be a dedication ceremony for Trish Buckwalter at Clausen Park on Saturday, May 22nd from 12 to 6. We welcome everyone to attend. Trish did a lot for the community and was a friend of many of ours. And so we're hoping we get a good turnout for that dedication memorial service. The municipal offices will be closed on Monday, May 31st in observation of Memorial Day. The East Amwell Township Parks and Rec Committee will sponsor a youth concert, Gemini Fest, on June 5th from 4 to 8 p.m. at Clausen Park. The Identi-Shred at Hunterdon County Complex on Route 12 in Flemington will be held on June 5th from 8 a.m. to noon or until the trucks are full. The primary election will be held on Tuesday, June 8th from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. and all the polls are here at the East Amwell Municipal Building. In other words, we're returning back to some sense of normalcy when it comes to our elections. The Hunterdon County Utilities Authority will hold an electronic waste collection on Saturday, June 19th from 9 to 1 at the county complex on Route 12. Summer playground is scheduled at the East Amwell School from July 5th through July 30th from 9 till 11:45 a.m. East Amwell children who have completed kindergarten through 8th grade are eligible to register. Look for formal registrations through the East Amwell website. And as I understand it, if there are additional slots available, we will open them up to non-East Amwell residents. Correct, Krista?
That's for discussion.
Okay, all right, okay. Okay, so we will discuss that later. I'm jumping the gun. Residents are strongly encouraged to check the East Amwell Township website for updates on township matters. Residents are reminded that the Grit Yard, located at 4 John Ringo Road, is open for brush collection 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. daily, and on the first and third Saturday of the month from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. For further information, refer to our website. I would also like to add something to this list, which is on July 5th, 2021, the Amwell Valley Ambulance Corps is planning on hosting a motorcycle run fundraiser that will pass through, among other places, East Amwell Township. This motorcycle event is set to start at 10:30 a.m. and is estimated to last about 2.5 hours. The state police and an ambulance from our ambulance corps will be escorting the participants throughout the duration of the run. And if it's a rain date, then the event will be postponed until August 1st. And if you have any questions, you could reach out to the chief of our ambulance corps, Pat Eckert. Anything else for announcements? Did I get everything? Okay. On to acknowledgements. As you know, each month, I like to take a few minutes at the beginning of the meeting and acknowledge residents and others who have done good things for the township. This month, I'd like to do 5. First, I'd like to thank Karen DeMarco, who is the director of our Hunterdon County Department of Health. My wife Kathy and I went to the county's drive-through vaccine site about 2 weeks ago to get our first shot in the arm, and were incredibly impressed with the efficiency of that drive-through vaccination site. I think Karen did an absolutely terrific job. Not only was it very efficient, but the people working there were incredibly friendly. We had a great experience, and I sent a little note to Karen thanking her and copied all of our county commissioners. Second, and I do this not infrequently, but I feel really compelled to raise this because of all the hard work they do, I'd like to thank the members of our recycling committee. Allison and Mark Castellano, Mark Gunn, Sue Cadlick, Erica Johansson, Chantel Napoleon, and Kevin Ostrander. Working on the recycling committee in some respects is very different than working on other committees in East Amwell. It's a lot of manual labor in all sorts of weather. Winter, summer, rain, snow, holidays. The recycling depot doesn't really get canceled. It's done whenever it comes up, even if that's a holiday, and pretty much irrespective of the weather. It's a lot of manual labor. It's dirty work. You're offloading other people's recycles. All the juices are running all over you. Times you go home smelling like a drunk sailor, not because you've had a single alcoholic beverage to drink, but lots of juice runs over you as you're unloading these things and putting them into dumpsters.
Thanks for the visual.
We have people in what we call the foam palace, which is the trailer out there, sorting all sorts of recycles. It really is a lot of manual labor, and like I said, in all kinds of weather. That group works very hard, and they maintain a great sense of humor. It's actually a lot of fun working the recycling depot. There's a lot of joking around, a lot of camaraderie. So I'd like to thank, again, Allison and Mark Castellano, Mark Gunn, Sue Cadlick, Erica Johansson, who has been on the recycling committee for, I think, around 3 decades, Chantel Napoleon, and Kevin Ostrander. Next, I'd like to thank our fire company and rescue squad. I can't say enough nice things about them. They've been trying really hard to maintain some sense of normalcy throughout COVID. They had the Mother's Day drive-through breakfast, which was really nice. They do the best they can with what they have and subject to the COVID constraints. They are very much looking forward to returning to true normalcy, where we could all get together in person for the events, which obviously is a lot more fun than a drive-through. And with a little luck, they'll be starting that up again soon. But these folks all do this on their own time and sometimes with their own money. And I really just want to acknowledge the effort and the appreciation. Fourth, I'd like to acknowledge Lori Cleveland, who is the chair of the Sauerland Conservancy. Over the last few months, I've gotten to know Lori, not well, but reasonably well. She and I have had a number of phone calls. The Sauerland Conservancy is facing a crisis of epic proportions. The emerald ash borer is expected to take out in excess of over 1 million trees in the Sauerlands. And the Sauerland Conservancy is trying to deal with that crisis. They are taking the lead in dealing with that crisis. This is defoliating the Sauerlands. I just want to acknowledge Lori's efforts. She wrote a great article to the editor letter in last month's VIP. I guess it's this month's VIP, the May VIP. I strongly encourage people to read her letter to the editor and do whatever you can to help the Sauerland Conservancy in its efforts to deal with the crisis in the Sauerlands. Finally, I'd like to thank Helen Reinerson. Helen is, I believe, 93 now. She may be the East Amwell resident who has lived here the longest. If she's not, she's certainly one of the top few. Helen comes to the recycling depot virtually every month. She always has the cleanest recycles. There's no juice running off her recycles. They come sparkling clean and well sorted. But Helen brings a smile to my face during the warm weather because she's 93 and she mows her own lawn. And every time I drive by and see Helen mowing her lawn, it just makes me think that you really are as young as you think you are. I mean, it's really incredible watching her out there mowing her lawn at 93 years old. I always say to her, I know all is right with the world if I drive by and see Helen mowing her lawn. So I would like to thank Helen for bringing a smile to my face and I think the faces of many other residents. She truly is a delightful lady. Pre-COVID, she was volunteering for a lot of things, working the polls, cooking when the fire company has events. She's unstoppable. She really is an incredible, incredible lady. Okay, next on the agenda is approving the minutes. Could I have a motion to approve the April 14th, 2021 executive session minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay.
Wait, everyone was here for that, right? Did you come in?
Me, I
Someone
wasn't.
come in?
Mark
was that?
Mark
Okay.
abstained.
Okay. The next on the agenda is the approval of the April 14th, 2021 regular meeting minutes. Could I have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
I guess Mark will
Mark,
abstain.
yes.
Anybody
Abstain.
opposed? Okay. Special committee reports. Allison
Capcha.
Kavchuk
Capture.
applied to be the secretary for our environmental commission and had expressed an interest in environmental matters. So I said to Krista, well, is she interested in also being a member? Because we need members on the environmental commission. We're trying to restaff that commission. Krista reached out and Allison said yes, she would like to be a member in addition to the secretary. So later in the agenda, there'll be a resolution to appoint her as the secretary, but right now I'd like to make a motion to appoint her as a member of the Environmental Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Wait, so she's gonna be the secretary and a member?
Correct.
I normally wouldn't have an issue with that, but would she be like, I mean, she would have a say in her own salary then, right?
No, we set the salary.
We do.
Yeah, but they like kind of set their budget, no? Well, at least they give us a proposal.
Well, they give us a
Work off of
proposal and we approve their budget.
But she would abstain from that
that.
kind
Okay,
of.
all right, well, yeah, as long as, there's no conflicts or anything, I'm cool with it.
and their budget is a relatively
Yeah,
insignificant
it's-
number.
yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Next on the agenda, and I'm actually glad that Tim Willie is here because
A little drowsy from last night, sir.
yes, we had a very long planning board meeting last night. It went late. As I think everybody knows, the voters last November's election voted in favor of legalizing marijuana in New Jersey. The yes exceeded the no by a significant margin. The state, in enacting its law legalizing marijuana, has given municipalities 180 days to decide, I'm going to say this very loosely and not entirely accurately, but without getting too granular, to decide whether to opt in or opt out. You can opt out, in which case none of this will really impact your municipality, or you can opt in whole or in part. And what I mean is you can opt in for sales, for distribution, for warehousing, for growing. So you can opt in whole or in part. If you do nothing within the 180 days, the default is that you are deemed to have opted in to everything. So unless you really want to be opting in for everything, it's incumbent on the municipality to take action within the 180 days. The way we decided to handle this, we being the planning board, because this in the first instance is a planning board issue, was that the planning board would spend the first 2 months of the 180 days, 180 days being 6 months, the first 2 months educating itself and making a recommendation. The next 2 months, which is the period we're in now, we would raise this with the public and get input from anyone in the public who wants to give input. And the final 2 months would be dedicated to drafting the ordinance or ordinances that we would need in order to implement whatever decisions were ultimately made. The recommendation from the planning board was that we allow in East Amwell Township, in certain areas, not throughout the township, marijuana dispensaries. We were not looking to allow warehouses. We were not at this point looking to allow growth. We were not looking to allow the other components of the distribution or use. Just dispensaries where people can pull in, buy, and leave. They would not be able to pull in, use, hang out, and leave. Just pull in, buy, and leave. And the areas that we were considering, or the planning board was considering allowing this, would be the Route 31 corridor near the south border of East Amwell Township, and possibly the 202-31 corridor, but not the entire corridor. For example, we don't want it near the school. So that was the recommendation of the planning board. Question is, well, why should we put a dispensary in East Amwell Township? The carrot here is that if you have a dispensary, you can impose a local tax. That tax could potentially raise a lot of revenue for East Amwell. The way we look at it, invariably one or more of our neighboring municipalities are going to opt in and have their own dispensary. So the notion that if we opt out, we're somehow going to be protected from all of this isn't really a true notion. People will be driving, for example, up and down 202 to get to the dispensary in one of our neighboring communities or up and down the 31 corridor. So we'll still have the people coming and going to get it, but our neighboring municipalities will get the revenue. In other words, we'll have all the bad, but none of the good. So the recommendation was we should share in this. And the revenue here could be very substantial. It could have a real impact on our budget and have a real impact on what we could do in the township. So what we wanted to get out to the public this evening was the recommendation of the planning board. We will post things on the website, get something in the VIP. We will get the word out the best we can, and we will be soliciting input from the residents. Residents could come to next month's Township Committee meeting. They could reach out to any member of this committee. They could send an email to Krista if they want to set forth their thoughts in writing, however you'd like to do it, but we're looking to get whatever input the residents want to give us. Like I said, we have to make a decision. If we choose to just do the dispensary, we're not forever precluded from expanding that or from contracting that. We can always change what we choose to do. But what we can't do is do nothing, because otherwise we'll be opening the door to all the potential uses, and I don't think anyone finds all the potential uses here attractive. So we have to do something. So realistically, we either have to opt out of everything or pick and choose, and we have to make that decision before the end of the 180-day window. Tim, was there anything that you think I should add to what I've just said?
Oh, I had a whole spiel for open to the public.
Okay. Do you
Not
want?
that whole spiel, but no, I just,
Do you want to do it now while we're on the topic?
sure thing.
If you'd like to come forward and do it now while we're on the topic.
Well, open public is next. If you wanna.
Yeah, open to the public.
Yeah,
Oh.
we're next.
Yeah. it's
Oh,
next.
you're right. Okay, so could I have a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, you want to come forward?
You like that lady last night?
Have your sunglasses.
She didn't have any questions.
Tim Willie, 25 Bird Lane. Good evening, council members. I guess first of all, I want to thank you all for your service, because since I became chair of the East Amwell Planning Board, I realize how much time it takes and effort it takes to be involved with local government. And I just want to thank all of you for your time and effort, because it's time consuming. Anyway, and hopefully you guys aren't here as late as we were last night. You got two sleepers up there, so they're tired too. I'm glad this is, this is on the agenda tonight. Like Rick said, after several months of some research and discussions, we really tried to reach out to some knowledgeable people, and Krista's been very helpful with getting information from other townships and lawyers that are involved with this in North Jersey and stuff like that. But like Rick said, the planning board did want the township committee to pursue an ordinance to allow a dispensary or two. And just for anybody that hasn't watched us on YouTube and heard me say this before, a micro dispensary is a 2,500 square foot building, can be up that size. 10 employees. It can be allowed to do deliveries. And they're allowed to do, as it's read right now in the law, they're allowed to dispense 1,000 pounds of marijuana a month. So just the math on some of that. The medical marijuana, I averaged out a price of $400 an ounce. So at 1,000 pounds, that's 16,000 ounces at 400. That's $6.4 million a month. The township's allowed to collect 2%. That could be $128,000 a month. That's $1.5+ million a year. Somerville.
Just to put that in context, our entire budget for 2021, including capital, our entire budget is $3 million. $1.5 million is half our entire budget.
It's big money, and it's, you know, like I've said before to the planning board, I look at it as it's like a liquor store. People are going to go in, get their stuff, they're going to leave. If they're smoking outside, they're going to get arrested. It's not legal. You can't just pull up and smoke somewheres. So it's like a liquor store. It's not going to be, and it's legal in the state of New Jersey, so you can't, people are going to be going someplace to get it. So over $1.5 million a year possible, that's just a lot of money, you know. And there's an article just out. Francis forwarded it to me. I'm not sure where it came from, but Somerville's all over this. They've already approved it. They're downtown. I think they're looking at having like cigar houses, smoke houses, like in downtown Somerville to bring. You know, they have the car shows there, but they're looking at it to bring people back out of COVID and bring people back into town to make money. And I just think that. You know, I hope this can move forward in a positive way. I know some people are, you know, it's got stigmas to it. I understand that, but that's why I try to equate it to a liquor store. Liquor's been legal since the Prohibition. We have a liquor store right across our border in West Amwell Township, you know, right on the other side of 31. You know, we're on one side, they're on the other side. It's just like having a liquor store as far as I can tell. I mean, it's going to produce money directly to the township. So I just hope it can move forward in a positive way, and thanks you guys for all you do and keeping it moving.
Yeah. Tim, can I ask
Appreciate
you a
it.
question?
Yes.
Before you go. So when it comes to the licensing for this stuff, now I know obviously the state's going to be issuing licenses.
Yes.
Do we have to issue a local license too?
As far as I know, from what I've read, and I'm not a lawyer, but so somebody has to have, first of all, they have to have a lease signed on a building or an option, a contract to buy.
Yeah.
To go to the state to even apply for their license.
Yeah, it's kind of like an FFL or something.
Yes, so they have to show that they're in a township that's got an ordinance that allows a micro dispensary. And this is why we didn't go with a growery. You know, the groweries put out a lot of pollutants, stink. It's a lot of complaints. I don't think we want that in the township at this point. It could be something to be addressed later. And I don't know what the cash flow is off of that. I don't know what the percentage is. I wasn't pursuing that. But there are a lot of complaints with that. And it's a high water usage facility that grows marijuana. I mean, thousands of gallons of water. So I personally don't think that that's something that we need in our township because we all have wells here. So you know, we're all conscious of that. So but I mean, the statistics on the amount of water is just phenomenal. I think each adult plant takes 21 liters a day.
Oh, wow.
So you're talking about a grow house with 1,000 or 2,000 plants in it. You're talking about lots of water.
Yeah.
Plus the stink, and there's chemicals that are generated. There's you know, stuff going on. So that's why we didn't really want to address that issue. And the warehousing and you know, just the warehousing thing would confuse. We don't have any ordinances concerning. We don't allow warehousing in the township, so we have to stay away from that. So that's kind of how we came to the micro dispensary.
Yeah.
And,
Cool.
all right.
Thank you.
Tim?
Yes.
Did I read the other day that Raritan actually,
Yes.
yes, you read that as well? So
I didn't catch
Yeah,
that.
they
voted no.
voted no on it.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Well-
that,
Decided not to pursue.
There are licenses.
What Raritan did is Raritan decided to kick the can down the road. So they decided to say no for now.
Yeah. I think
Do
it's
a
a
more
5-year. It's a
extensive
5-year
study.
term. So if you say no now, that holds for 5 years. In 5 years, you can. So you know, if the township voted no now, in 5 years you could readdress it. But it's a 5-year. From what I've read, it's a 5-year window, either or. Like if you said yes to everything in 5 years, you could say, oh, this isn't working for us. But so there's a 5-year window, I believe, that once you sign on board, you have to do 5, and then you can. You know, if we had a problem, we could amend the ordinance and say, hey, you know what? We don't like this happening. It's gone, and it would be a 5-year period. You know, we'd have, you know, $6 million in the budget and, you know, c'est la vie.
do
But
we know what any of the other, like West Amwell, Delaware, Stockton, do we know what anyone else is doing?
as far as I've heard, Hopewell's no, Hopewell Township is no. Lambertville, I believe, is no.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
They're introducing a cannabis ordinance next week.
They are?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't,
Lambertville
I didn't, the last I heard that they were gonna be a no, but that's,
An email just came through the clerks
okay,
today.
okay.
This board,
So that's-
similar to us, or do you?
I'm not sure it wasn't particular, so
That was Lambertville City, or was that West Amwell?
Lambertville,
Yeah,
City of Lambertville.
yeah, okay. So, I mean, you would think,
Yeah, I would've thought
you know,
Hopewell
with the
too,
bridge
you know.
right there,
Yeah.
you would think that'd be a.
Oh, that's gonna be,
You know,
they're gonna be.
but they
big
can't
deal
handle the
about
traffic, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So,
that's
you
true.
know,
it.
it's,
Everybody knows it is.
And the 180 days started when?
oh, I don't have that notes in front of me, Tara.
I'm trying to see how much.
August 18th is the
Is the
deadline.
deadline.
Yes, August 18th, I believe, is the dead fast deadline.
Do we know of anyone who's like any entities that are interested in coming here yet?
Yes.
Okay.
That,
All right,
that's,
so
that's where
people
we've
are
gotten a
lining
lot
up.
of our
They met with
information.
one.
One of
Okay.
our,
I thought
one
we
of
talked
our
about that, yeah.
information gatherers was a lady who is, she's a pharmacist. She works at a dispensary in a medical dispensary in PA. And she's interested. She's hired a consulting firm.
Okay.
She's moved along. She's given us a lot of great information. She's given us leads to different avenues of information, which we've all pursued. And obviously, she lives in West Amwell,
Oh, perfect.
and she's very interested in you know, in us moving forward with it, and she would be right in, you know, I mean, she's looking to align. It takes a lot to align us. I mean, this is
yeah,
big
it's
money.
a lot of-
I mean,
yeah,
you
a lot
don't
of
just
moving
walk in.
parts.
I think the license is $250,000. I think just to apply for the license is $250,000.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not, you know, this isn't Tom and Joe just showing up and saying, "Oh, I want to open up a dispensary." This is
Oh, yeah,
big
I know.
money
It's a
to
big-
get the
yeah.
thing
It's a
open,
big
and
process.
you know. And the other thing that I see, the one thing that I see is it's, you know, because it's not federally legal, that it's all cash.
Yeah.
It can't go through the banks. So there's going to be a lot of security involved with this. This is not going to be some game show. This is going to be high security. I mean, you're going to have a lot of cash and a lot of product. So therefore, you're going to have security.
You're gonna
Yeah,
have,
I mean,
yeah.
it's not going to be, you know, it's not going to be like a liquor store where I can get a 6-pack. I'm 20, you know, and you slide out. No, it's going to be tight.
Right,
It's
you
going to be,
Yeah.
it's going to be well, you know. It's the state of New Jersey. It's going to be regulated. So, you know, let's remember where we live. Anything else?
Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, guys. Appreciate it all.
Thank you for coming. Anyone else from the public like to speak?
Allison?
Alison Castellano, 9 Pro Court. Just a couple of tweaks on things that mentioned earlier. Trish Buckwater's event in here says from 12 to 6. It actually starts at 2. They're setting up from 12, so probably not a good idea to turn up at 12. Just say
What's the time, Allison?
2. The event starts at 2. And the summer playground, it says that it's for kids who have completed kindergarten through 8th grade. It's actually kids who have completed kindergarten through 7th grade. And then I was just going to add for you that you're talking about the firehouse. They obviously hadn't sent this in for you, but they're advertising on Facebook that they're having on June 19th a stand-up comedy night again, you know, similar to what they've had in the past. The comedians to be announced or decided, but they're advertising it. So it's on June 19th. So that's, you know, if we waited till next month, it's a bit close to the date for the meeting. So but I'll just mention it. June 19th starts at 7. As usual, they'll advertise it through the Facebook pages if anyone wants to go. So looking like they're getting back to normal. That's it.
Thank you.
Francis?
Francis Gavigan, 123 Wirtsville Road. I also am of the Sleepy People Committee from last night. But I was somewhat surprised to hear that here a month after what we thought was the 25-acre zoning, and also if you want to say something about the farm project components or whatever, was you gotta come in here and show up, is now announced as that there's a committee or there are individuals that are going to be going out and talking to people. And since this is at least quasi-governmental, is there any, are they going to be tape recorded the way that the conversations, I think, that happened with the parents a few months ago were, or records, so that you know who talked to who about what and what may have been the outcome? I find it, I thought we put a fork in this thing, but it seems to have more lives than Dracula's offspring. We don't have the money to go forward with the farm projects or whatever that it was. I thought there was no willingness on the part of the committee to move forward with this, but it seems to have a life of its own. The mayor spoke for quite a while, and clearly a month ago that if people wanted to contribute, that they should show up and contribute, and now it's going searching. Transparency, is there transparency? Will there be transparency? Will people know who's doing what and what are the criteria? Are they cherry picking or whatever? I don't know. Tim, you probably know more than I do.
There will be transparency, trust me.
Okay,
I'm
and
all about transparency.
Okay, and there'll be records and.
We're moving forward with it in small ways that once, nobody wants to talk right now because of the COVID, so it's going to move forward. There's people that are interested in speaking to what has already started. So I can't, there's a lot of people that weren't interested in 25-acre zoning, but there's a lot of people that are interested in parts of the farm project. I just want to see what those parts are and if there's any validity to them and go from there with the farm project. It's not a planning board issue once I find out where it needs to go. If it needs to go to the Ag Commission or wherever it needs to go, but there are people out there with small farms that are that want to speak to people about, from the planning board, about the farm project, as the outreach was started a year ago. There's people that have been waiting to hear what's going to happen, there's going to be, they want to have discussions about it. They might not want to come to a planning board meeting. People don't want to do anything, so I can't, I'm dealing with tough times, Francis, that's all.
Yeah, well.
We're not live, we don't have everybody sitting up here. It's a very difficult situation, and I'm only 5 months into being chair, so.
Condolences.
Thank you.
That segues into another issue in that I was surprised to see an email earlier this week where yet another Ag Advisory Committee is canceled. I mean, I would think that the Ag Advisory should be not only active in meeting, but engaged or involved.
I agree 100%.
Since that's the farmers.
I agree 100%.
And I don't know how much heads up people get, other than, sorry, we're not having it today. There's a sign on the front door so that people know. And it's a little obtuse about, especially given some of the stuff that's been said online, offline, trash talking, who's evil, who's not. Personally, I don't care when it's against me, but, I'm not running a business in here. I'm not competition. I'm not Sweet Valley or Rutgers or the guy up at the corner with his cars and his plants or things like that. But can at least this whole, some of it come up to a little bit more to the surface? I mean, there are things, I know that the farmers' Facebook page was started by Darcy and the farmers. So that is farmers. And you will know because you're Allison, you're on it is the East Amwell Facebook page. Is that East Amwell's or yours, or
No,
is it?
no, there's an official township page, which is the one that has the logo for the township. The East Amwell Bulletin Board is owned by Candy Wigan, that's not a township page, and nor is the other one. The other East Amwell Township NJ is owned by a resident too. They're not official township pages.
Okay, well, whoever administers or whatever, I think that there is interpretations on the parts of people maybe that this is quasi-judicial, which could do with some clarification as to what is it for, who can be banned, who can be not, what are the criteria. You know, the same thing with all the problems that have been going on with people trying to get into or not get into Zoom meetings, that the thing that you get and you click on it, it not only won't take you to the meeting, it won't take you to the documents. So, you know, we've been Zooming for a year now. I would hope that some of that stuff would have been worked out by now, and that there could be more, I know I was getting texts last night sitting here from people that can't get into the meeting. What do I do? And then after you announce during the meeting that, well, you gotta go to the agenda, and then the link that's in the agenda, assuming you've got it electronically, will take you there. And I hope the person that reached out to me that I responded to that effect was able to get on, but it seems to be an awful lot of challenges to getting access to information and real-time information, and would hope that that would be something that's being improved with your new hire. I'm assuming, hello, you're the new hire in the back of the room for finance and something else. But, you know, we can do better, we can be more transparent, and I would hope that you, Tara, and you, Chris, and you, Mayor Wolf, and Mark, and John, could give some reassurance to the farming community that what the farmers, and they theoretically would be the beneficiary of a farm project, have asked that you do or not do, would be respected and it not keep coming back like a zombie dog. You know, I've only been doing things for 40-some years, and I don't consider myself a farmer the way that I consider the Dave Bonds or the Perrinses or Kit or others to be farmers. But I know I've got hundreds of hours, many of which they're in the cold and the snow and whatever, on my tractor, not having fun.
Wrap it up.
You're wanting me to wrap it up, okay? And then that is, to wrap that up, is there were people who came last night for the farm project, and I guess wondering if the farm project is on tonight or not, who then sat through 3 or some hours of, you know, once again, the people going after, you know, what's agricultural or not, or what you're allowed to have or not have on the mountain. So if you can't confirm or at least reinforce your prior assurances, then we'll start asking a little louder and a little bit more widespread. Is that wrapped up? And I'll wait for the second one. That's it.
Anyone else from the public?
Can we respond to what Francis said?
Well, let's close to the public first, and then we'll respond.
Okay.
Motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so Francis and to all the farmers, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, so if you guys disagree with my assessment of the situation here, by all means speak up. as I understand it, I think we're pretty much all in agreement that the 25 acre thing is kaputski, right? No one really has an interest in taking that anymore forward. Okay, so that's dead.
I'm not sure that that's an accurate statement, but go on.
Okay. But beyond that, I mean, at least speaking for myself and as far as the rest of the farm project goes, I mean, I think what we understood from many of the comments that were made was that the farmers, want us to get out of their way. So interpreting that as it relates to the farm project, I think we should do just that. And by that, I mean, the farm project should include, maybe reducing the zoning restrictions, making it easier for them to put up barns, build other structures. Deer management, I know, is a big thing. So, I mean, that's at least where I see the farm project going, and that's the direction I hope it's going to be taking. I don't know if you guys agree with that or disagree or think, that's the direction we should take, or...
You want to, we don't, we're close to the public. I said let Tim fill it in a little bit.
Motion to
Well,
open
no,
to...
no, let Chris finish saying
No, I'm
what he
done.
said.
I'm just opening up for discussion for everyone else.
Anybody else want to discuss it?
I mean, do you guys agree? Is that like the
I think
direction
it
we want
needs
to
to
take
be
it?
discussed personally, so.
That's where I thought we left it. That's
Yeah.
that the majority of the township committee did not agree with 25 acre, but that we were, what you talked about, which is what happened at the January 28th meeting, which were the items you talked about, the zoning, the deer, wildlife management, and maybe a few other ones. And that I know there is interest still within the planning board of pursuing those items as well as other parts of the farm project that I know, and you referenced just now, Tim, maybe post-COVID when you can get your planning board in, when some of these transparent meetings can happen and interviews can happen, that's what I think you guys are pursuing, and that's what I believe we, talked about in the meeting probably like 2 months ago, I think, up here, but that's with you guys, and I fully respect that I know the master plan is top of mind and priority as well, so I don't know where those other parts of the conversation are happening right now. I know Tam has been working on some things, I've spoken with Tam about it, but that's where I thought it was, Chris, so.
Yeah, I know we should have had a more concrete statement on things, I guess.
And
But
last month, don't forget, you all agreed not to do the agritourism.
yes,
Because the state was doing it.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're
And the
interested.
farm market.
Market, yes, yeah. So
Right, but I'm not sure not everybody here is marching to the same drummer, because I believe the farm market, at least in some fashion, is moving forward.
Well, that was the decision amongst the board at the last township committee meeting.
I understand, but best I could tell from what I'm hearing at the planning board, there are pieces of this that are moving forward,
And I think.
and the
it-
farm market being one of them.
I mean, I have no say in this, but I think what's happening here is not being communicated back
yes,
to the planning
exactly.
board.
But bear in mind, the planning board is a separate body. They're not necessarily under the control of the township committee. The
Right.
planning board
The ultimate decision
has
is
the ability, maybe not. There are certain things where the ultimate decision is the planning board's. There are certain things where the ultimate decision is the township committee. The planning board is a separate body. The Board of Health is a separate body. They are entitled to undertake their own studies on things that fall within their purview. We can't go to them and say, no, you can't do that. So if the planning board wants to pursue certain components of the farm project, as long as it's within the purview of the planning board, they could do that. If they need legislation to implement them, they have to come to us and say, please do the legislation, and we could say, no, but we can't stop them.
Yeah, I was just saying the consensus of the meeting last
Yes,
month.
well,
and
what our position
everybody-
is and what should be communicated to the planning board
Yeah.
was, I think, what we were getting at here.
Mhm.
And if they feel differently, I guess they're entitled to go whatever route they do, but I think they're aware of where we stand. If not now, they should have been before, I don't know.
Look, I'm of the same impression you are with the agritourism and the farm market, but I'm not sure that the planning board is of that same impression. I don't know where this farm project is going in the planning board. The comment that Francis is referring to caught me as much off guard as it caught her off guard. I wasn't expecting to hear that. So I don't know where the planning board is taking this. and it wasn't discussed at last night's meeting, not because anyone is trying not to be transparent, but the meeting had 2 applications and went to, what, 11:30 or something with 2 applications? There wasn't,
11:09.
there was no appetite,
11:09 and 23 seconds.
there was no appetite to tackle other difficult issues after those 2 applications. So it's not a question of transparency, it was just a question of the late hour.
Yeah.
But at next month's planning board meeting, we can put it on the agenda and discuss this so we can get clarity on exactly where the planning board is going with this.
Right. But just so I know, I mean, as the planning board secretary, we could bring it up, is everybody in agreement with what was just discussed on the consensus?
Yeah, so
So it can be relayed
Yeah.
back.
no to 25 acre, no to farm
Yeah,
market.
I want to be loud and clear with the 25 acres. Now, the 25 acres was one piece of the farm project, and maybe we need to come up, get a little more creative with what we want to call some of these other little projects.
Instead of the farm
But,
project?
but I want to make sure that I'm loud and clear that I do not, I will never support 25 acre rezoning. It's just not something that I'm going to support. To Tara's point, we kicked this can down the road a month ago or whatever it was. There was no support for the 25 acres. These other projects, as the planning board presents them to us, absolutely. The master plan, absolutely. We want to get ahead of that before 2023, but I just want to make sure that I'm loud and clear.
Yeah, I agree with John wholeheartedly. But, so, just so we're, to get everything out in the open and make sure we're on the same page. So no to 25 acre, no to farm market, no to agritourism, correct? And then yes to wildlife management, yes to complementary, and yes to less restrictive zoning, right? Is that
Well,
a good?
the revising the zoning and the village.
Is that master plan stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe I just didn't hear correctly in the last meeting, but I don't think we said no to farmers market. I think we said we want to know more about what they're intending to do. Chris, I mean, I can,
There was discussion on how it was gonna be
Well-
staffed and.
well,
well, I
the
think
thing is-
like,
yeah, no,
originally,
go
the
on.
original plan was to have like a director of, right, and we kind of all agreed,
Yeah,
like, we can't
that was-
afford
yeah.
that. There's no room in any budget to have a director of a farmer's market, but I think like if the planning board has a passion for it, and there are farmers in our community, maybe not the big farmers, but smaller farmers that have a passion about this and wanna do something, again, it may not even be a planning board issue. This might move to ag. This might, who knows, right? This could go anywhere. So I want to be clear that I'm not saying no
Yeah.
necessarily
No,
to
absolutely
that.
no.
Okay.
People can pursue whatever they want. We don't even, sounds like we don't even necessarily approve half of this stuff anyways, right? If they want to do it within their own, rights and abilities, then I have no issue with that.
Okay,
But
yeah.
yes, a director and some of that stuff that we heard on the
Like not
January
staffing
28th
it.
meeting, like, no, right? Like, no, we can't afford that. But other parts of it, I don't necessarily feel as a hard no on that.
Yeah, well, one idea I did hear, I guess to go back to this farm market thing, was that the idea of like a farmer's market day or something, like a community farm market day where we would put up tents in like the parking lot or something like that. Like that, I think is, not too onerous, and we're not gonna incur any expense.
I just don't even want to put words in their mouths,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'd rather hear
I mean,
what
that's-
people want to
that-
do, and then if
Yeah.
they need to come to us to talk about it, super. If not, they don't have to. I don't know, right? So,
Well, if they're looking for direction, I mean, that's at least where I stand.
Yeah.
I'm
I
guess
just
I'm
don't
open
even
to
know
a
where it's
small
at
scale
at this
thing.
point, so
Yeah.
I don't even want to
Yeah.
like, fantasize what it could look like because I don't even know. So,
Yeah, but, okay, so I guess farm market's like that's in middle territory, but the other
let's
stuff.
see
if
what
they're-
people want, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be an appetite for it in the entire community, or at least a majority community. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, but just not one, just to be clear, that's staffed with like employees and
I don't
stuff that we're gonna have to
think-
pay.
yeah.
Well, we don't have the money for it, so, I mean,
No, no.
Yeah, but maybe something small scale.
But it could take a different form.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be staff,
Yeah.
pop-ups and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah, that I think is
But
a fair conversation
But
to
the
have.
planning board's
yeah.
also working with the county on a bigger project kind of thing, and farm mapping and stuff like that.
Yep.
So far away from any retail or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's a larger project for the county, and
Yeah.
the planning board's working with them.
Okay,
So there are smaller components.
yes,
Doesn't necessarily have to fall in any category you've just mentioned.
yeah,
But it's work that they could do.
okay.
And they're helping on a bigger project.
All right, yeah, so
Thank you.
hopefully there's some clarity there, I would hope. Tim, you got clarity? You good? Okay,
Sir?
why not?
Next is the consent agenda items. We approve these as a package. If anyone would like to discuss any of the items, we will remove it from the consent agenda and discuss it separately. Are there any items that anyone would like to remove from the consent agenda?
Can we remove resignation of Krista as RVAC secretary? Not because I want her to stay on, but because I could fill in that position before we go to hire somebody. Because I'm on the committee already, I can take minutes.
Well, that
But right now, all we're
that doesn't
asking is
affect
to
me.
accept,
It doesn't
accept.
Well, it
Okay.
doesn't affect me. We
I just
can
want to bring it up for
discuss
conversation, but okay. So no, you're staying, Krista, then you leave.
So if there's no one else looking to remove anything from the consent agenda items, could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody
Mr.
opposed?
Mr. Castellano?
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Ms. Ramsey?
Yes.
Mr. Sobieski?
Yes.
And Mr. Wolf?
Yes. Yes, let's do that now. Okay. Sorry, Margaret, I'm just going to digress for one more minute.
Sorry, Margaret. They should have moved it up.
I'm going to return to item 6 on the agenda, which is the presentation of awards to the winner of the Kids Drawing Contest. Since I don't want to keep our youngsters up late, we're going to turn to that. Our Parks and Recreation Committee had a kids drawing contest and chose 2 winners. And the 2 winners are here with us this evening. Nicholas and Nathan.
What's up, boys?
Are there out there in the audience, or do I just have, Allison, can people out there see the drawings?
On the table.
Okay.
framed, so you can see them.
Okay. These are very well done drawings. You guys did a great job. And we have your awards. If you'd like to come up, we'll give you your awards. Now, which one is Nicholas? Then I'm guessing you're Nathan. Nicholas, congratulations. Nathan? Do you want to get a picture? Do you guys
Yes,
all want to
yeah.
come down? We'll take a
Yeah,
picture
great.
with them?
Sure.
Actually, Allison should be up because she's Parks and Rec.
Allison, you should be up.
Yeah, you should be up Parks and Rec.
That's fine. I'll take the picture.
It's not the same thing.
Where we stand?
Here you are. It's
Show us some that she's doing tomorrow, Nicholas, okay?
Can you get all of us in the picture?
Picture on both sides.
right.
Look at you.
Want to get a picture, Margaret?
Well, maybe, because she writes the checks.
I was going to say, you need to do a possible.
Congratulations, guys.
Good job, fellas.
Thank you.
Take the money and run.
That's,
Take the money and run.
that's probably past their bedtime. That's getting past my bedtime. That's one of the fun parts of the job. And this Saturday I get to officiate a wedding, which is another fun part of the job. Okay, let's see here. So next we are at item 14. We have several resolutions to approve. The first is a resolution to appoint Joseph Petrone as the Assistant CFO, Board of Health Secretary, and Office Assistant effective May 10th, 2021. Would you like to stand up? So people could see who you are?
Already been outed, dude.
A number of us interviewed Joseph. We were very impressed.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Third on the agenda is a resolution approving the motorcycle run that I described earlier for the Amwell Valley Ambulance Corp., which will take place on July 25th, 2021. Could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Finally, a resolution authorizing the approval for a 100% disabled veteran tax exemption for John Walker, effective April 13th, 2020, when he was deemed and approved fully disabled.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we go to item 15 on the agenda, which is ordinances, where we are going to have public hearings this evening. Finally, Margaret, you're now going to be on. Okay. So first is the public hearing and vote for adoption of the 2021 budget. Could I have a motion? Well, I guess first we're going to open to the public, Krista, or do I motion to approve it first?
I think she's got to proof.
You can open
Hey,
to the
Chi-Chi.
public.
Open to the public? Can I have a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone from the public like to come forward and discuss the 2021 budget? Seeing no one, can I have a, Tim Willie?
Tim Willie, 25 Bird Lane, resident. Council, I know you're here tonight to approve or disapprove a budget that has a tax increase attached to it. Do we know what's coming from the federal government and when it's coming? And if that would help our budget and not have to raise our taxes? New York Post yesterday has an article, Mayor de Blasio spending $3 billion of federal money already. New York's got money. Do we know where New Jersey stands on this, where East Amwell, where are we in the trickle-down effect of all this money? Do we know where we stand, and is that something that can be put into our budget that would prevent a tax increase?
If it could, we would have done it.
I guess I just don't understand why I'm reading in a paper that New York City's blowing money already, and there's no word, I just don't understand that, and I know it's not any of your faults. I'm not blaming you individually, I'm just saying, I don't understand this.
The federal government adopted a bifurcated approach with this money. For states and municipalities with a population above 50,000, the aid will come directly from the federal government. For municipalities that are under 50,000, the aid will go from the federal government to New Jersey and from New Jersey to us.
Mhm.
New Jersey will disperse that money to the municipalities sometime between the beginning of June and the beginning of August. I think it's June 12th to August 12th. It's not clear exactly when in that period New Jersey will disperse it. There was a 150-page interim final rule issued by the federal government a few days ago. I find that interesting. It's sort of like jumbo shrimp, an interim final rule. Well, an interim final rule isn't a final rule. It's an interim final rule. It's 128 pages of preamble, and then the balance of the 151 pages is the law. I read it. I could see why it's an interim final rule. It's very difficult to figure out. But best I could tell from reading it, it's going to be very helpful to states that offer a lot of services, that have lots of departments. They'll be able to spend vast amounts of money. For municipalities that don't have a lot of departments and don't offer a lot of services, this isn't going to be particularly helpful in terms of your existing budget. Best I can tell, the money that East Amwell's getting, which I think will be somewhere around $380,000 over a 2-year period, $190 each year, we may be able to figure out ways to spend it, but they're not going to be ways that are going to relieve the budget. For example, you could pay bonuses to essential employees. The DPW may qualify as essential employees, but that's not clear. But bonuses for the DPW are not in the budget. So if we were to pay bonuses to the DPW in order to spend those funds, it doesn't relieve our budget issue. As far as I can tell, having gone through it, and it's going to take a lot of time to really go through this word by word, there is, and I have it here with me this evening, there is one provision in this budget, in this 151-page document that may, and I emphasize may, help our budget. And that is 35.6 eligible uses, Clause D, as in David. And that clause provides that you can use these funds for the provision of government services to the extent of a reduction in the recipient's general revenue, calculated pursuant to a complex formula. So if you had a decrease in your general revenue, which we did, of about 33,000, you can use this grant money to provide government services. The statute itself doesn't really define what government services are. The 128-page preamble gives an example. And I will read you the language. It says here in the preamble, on page 60 of the preamble, government services can include maintenance or pay-go funded building of infrastructure, including roads, modernization of cybersecurity, and then it lists a whole other things that are irrelevant to us, like providing police services. So it says it can include maintenance or pay-go funded building of infrastructure, including roads. Arguably, we might be able to use some of this toward our chip seal program. That could have a positive impact on our budget. But I can't say for sure based on a clause in a preamble. Now, I assume this is an interim final rule because they're going to work on this and provide more guidance over the course of the next few months. But we don't have that right now. And if you spend the money for a prohibited purpose on audit, you'll have to return it. So Margaret can speak to this in more detail, but I can tell you, having gone through this, this aid isn't going to be a windfall for East Amwell Township in terms of having an impact on our existing budget. I've only been able to find one thing that potentially could positively impact the budget. Any other uses are going to be on top of our budget, like paying bonuses or doing things that are not reflected in the budget that we can now do because we have this money. So we're not going to know for a while whether we could use this to fund part of our chip seal. And Margaret could explain why we need to get the budget done now. I'm not happy about a tax increase. The tax increase here would be approximately 2 1/3%. or about $18 for the average household. But in 2018, we cut taxes 5%. In 2019, they were flat. In 2020, they're flat. You can't go forever like that. Sooner or later, you're going to have a tax increase. Your expenses go up. Every year, the employees get a 2% bump. You can't go forever.
The freeholders have held the line,
Yeah.
right? The freeholders have been holding the line for years now.
Correct. Explain to me how.
Rick, I'm not a politician. I don't know. I just know what
Then you're drawing an analogy that you can't explain, Tim. For example, one
But
of
it's
the
a
ways
fact,
that
but
the-
it's, Rick, it's a
point remains the
fact.
same.
It's a
Correct.
fact that the freeholders, the freeholders pay as they go. They're not borrowing any money. They're not putting us they're not selling bonds or anything. They pay as they go. That's all I know of it, okay? I'm not a numbers guy. I'm a general contractor. I'm not a politician.
Right, but
I'm not any.
Tim,
I'm just saying,
Tim,
if the freeholders
if-
can do it, I've been to budget meetings before in this township. I've been here 26 years. I've been to budget meetings before where they have delayed voting, approving the budget, and they've pushed it down the road. And all I'm asking is that you think about pushing this down the road a month or two till we see what actually trickles out of this money to see if we can prevent increasing the taxes to our citizens. And that's all.
we're not going to know in a month or two.
You just said it could be June. It's May 14th tomorrow.
It could be as early as June 12th, as late as August 12th, but when you get the money, listen to me. You're not going to know until you get more guidance, which isn't going to come for a while, how you could spend it.
But why do we have to rush to approve a budget tonight when we can push it down the road a couple of months and go as you go, and then we find out more, we have more information. That's what I mean. It could change the whole status of everything. Nobody knows. I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows.
Why are you saying rushing? We're
Because
not rushing anything.
but why does it have to be voted on tonight?
Margaret will explain that in a minute.
Okay.
To answer your question about the freeholders, let's say you buy your house, and every month you're making a mortgage payment, and that mortgage payment is $2,000 a month, so you're spending $24,000 a year. What happens when that mortgage is paid off? You now have $24,000 a year to play with.
I buy an island. You know, that's
You're not going to
You
get
know?
much of an island for $24,000, but that's okay.
it doesn't have to be big for me, Rick.
Okay.
It really doesn't.
So,
But I'm asking you
All
to
I'm
think about
saying
this
to
and
you
think
is-
about delaying the vote on the budget. That's all I'm asking you is
All
to
right,
consider it.
and-
Because it can be done. I know it can be done. I've seen it happen here. Like I said, I've been here 26 years. I've been to these meetings before. I've seen it happen. And I'm just asking you to push it down the road a couple months and see what happens. And then if we have to have a tax increase, then we have to. We know then that we have to. We're not guessing that we have to. We're not saying we don't know where this federal money's going to go or where we can spend it or anything. We'll know in a couple of months. So why do we have to vote on it tonight and tell people that we're increasing their taxes to 0.5%, whatever it was, when in another month or two, it might not be anything. It might be flat, just like it's been. And you guys can be just like the freeholders.
Tim,
You can not be raising our taxes.
Margaret's going
What a
to...
perfect world that would
Can we
be.
hear from Margaret?
Let
So I
Margaret-
thank you, Tim,
Yes.
so
Let
very
Margaret
much, but
explain.
I'd really
Yes,
like
no,
to hear from
I'm
Margaret.
done. No, I'm done. I appreciate
You
you.
can keep talking, I
Take
think.
it.
Well, no,
I feel like
we're going to
Margaret's
close
gonna-
to the public before we
Well,
have Margaret speak.
Okay, but, you
No,
know.
I appreciate you. I
stay
appreciate you
polite,
letting me speak.
But I would
Is-
like to hear from Margaret.
Is there anyone else from the public that'd like to speak before we bring up Margaret? Yes.
Hi, Lindsay Christopherly, 110 Amwell Road. I'm going off of my April planning board notes, so if anything has changed, if you guys could just alert
Are
me.
you talking about the budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. In the planning board meeting in April, it was announced that we're already going to see a tax increase in the budget of 2.3%. Correct?
2 1/3, correct.
2 1/3. It was announced that we don't have money in the budget for the farm project. And if the farm project, I know it has multiple components, but it wasn't broken down which components would potentially lead to a tax increase for residents. So it was said in that meeting, if any money is asked for the farm project, it would be going straight to a tax increase. So can you guys comment on the farm project as it relates to the budget and if there's any tax increases for that project?
What was discussed at the planning board meeting was the hire and gruel proposal for the master plan revision. And their proposal involved spending some amount of time, it appeared to me like a meaningful amount of time, on the farm project. And the comment I made was, there's not money in the budget to have hire and gruel, a professional, spend time on the farm project. If we wanted them to do that, then we'd have to put money in the budget for that, which would go straight to a tax increase. To the extent that the members of the planning board want to work on the farm project on their own time, that doesn't impact our budget at all.
Okay.
So if the members of the planning board want to go out and interview farmers, and they want to put together a proposal, that's not costing the township anything. That doesn't impact our budget. The discussion at the planning board was, do we want to pay a professional to do that?
Okay.
That was the question.
Okay. So, yeah, that pretty much answers my question. I just wanted to make sure, as we're looking at initiatives for the future, that residents can be informed what implications those initiatives would have on their taxes. I think that's fair to residents as you're hearing comments about not wanting to see additional tax increases.
I absolutely agree with that.
That's it,
Yeah.
right?
100% agree.
Yeah.
Not looking to spend
Okay.
any money.
Anyone else from the public like to speak about the budget? Francis?
Bill Francis Gavin, 123 Wardsville Road. At that planning, along the lines of what Lindsay was just talking about, at last month's meeting, I'd say the first hour or so of the planning board was about the fact that there had been a budget, and that once the 25-acre zoning came off of the table, that it went up to $39,000, and then there was a lot between Tam and the mayor about, we don't have the money, yet it had been, promised. I don't know how clearly delineated what money is going where is delineated, because there seemed to be some interpretation that there was one bucket of money that would cover all the legal fees, all the planner fees, all the this, that, and the other. And that I hope that level of granularity, and wherever things were left or came back again from Grier, the planners, as to, what had been expected to be less money became more money. And it's sad that, Mark, you weren't available and all of that stuff. But, it just more, be clear about what's coming from where, and, who are the advocates, and is it, treat the money like it's your own when you don't have it, when you were in college or when you were a teenager and the allowance you were supposed to be getting didn't show up because mom and dad had a bill that they didn't expect with a car that you may or may not have been driving that burned an engine. But that's a separate issue. But just, I don't know that there's as much transparency either on the website or available for people to know, oh, this is going for what, to where they can agree with it or not agree with it. Whether it's required by law or not, you can probably put everything into a moving pile. And there were some discussions about, well, we could always move money around in November. You know, it doesn't matter what it is, but be clear, be transparent, and if somebody raises an issue, the way Tim did or whatever, please don't attack them. And Mr. Mayor, that's what you were doing. If someone disagrees with you, you will tend to dominate them. That's not, well, it's not polite, it's not nice, it's not professional, it's not the kinder, gentler East Amwell that when we signed on to change from the EADA that we were going to be getting. Whether it's of the public raising an issue or even sometimes of your colleagues. Please stop it, be nice. What do they say? Be kind? Isn't that what you tell your kids, Tara? You know, when they go to school and all of that stuff. You know, where's Mr. Rogers when you need him? Be financially responsible, be transparent, and be nice. And I would hope that when it is not happened to where it's aggressive, you know, that there is at least a mea culpa, mea maxima culpa, all of that fun stuff for those recovering Catholics other than myself. It's, you know, someone should not have to justify like they were in court speaking about how their money is going to be spent. And I'm going to go back to my thing. I would wish that it would not be being voted on till you could get some more information or at least some of the other stuff. A 1-day waiver, 1-month waiver of the vote is not an unreasonable thing, and I've been here the 26 million years too, and I've seen it happen when you were waiting for state money or government money or others to take a beat and a pause. The county budget is lower now than it was, what, in 2007, because the county commissioners, formerly freeloaders, have been scrupulously vigilant about their pennies, nickels, and dimes, and about not spending things. I, for one, would like to know what money has gone where, and I imagine I probably have to annoy Margaret with some Oprah requests to find out, you know, how much money has been spent in the last year on getting us to this point with the farm project or whatever other visionary thing is. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you, Francis.
I'll vote for incoming.
Anyone else from the public? Tim?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Who are you?
Who am I? Tim Matthews, 72 Linvale Road. It's a tough job doing what you guys are doing. I've done it 9 times, the budget. And there were 2 or 3 years where we had to go into July. I think there was even one where we went to August. And it's okay if you do that. The world doesn't come to an end. So if you choose to do that, you can. The thing that I've always been perplexed with in all the 9 years is how every year we budget money, and every year we carry over a surplus, and then every year we budget more money, and every year we carry over a surplus. Surplus is money that the taxpayers have already paid. Right? So we've already paid that money in our taxes. It wasn't spent, so it's there. So when you have a tough year and you're looking for $20,000, $30,000 in the budget to fill it, I mean, why not look to the surplus? I mean, why not? I mean, I know, Margaret, you're excellent CFO, but there's no rule that says we have to have this big of a surplus and grow it every year because we feel good about it. It's the taxpayers' money. People have already paid that money. So this has been a tough year for a lot of people. I mean, I myself had to take a significant tax or a significant salary cut just to keep my job. Now, that's been reinstated, But there's a lot of people who've been in the same boat this whole year. There's people who are out of work. There's people who lost their jobs. So although I understand it's 2% and it's $18, it's a Big Mac and a fry, I mean, we went through that before politically, it's real money. You know, it is real money to real people. And, you know, I don't care what anyone says. Government has more than enough money at all levels. If you can't find $20,000 or $30,000 to cut out of this budget, then you're not looking hard enough. And don't ask me to tell you what to do, because I don't do it anymore. I'm not up there anymore. I leave it up to you to figure that. But I've just sat there and looked at the budget, and I see places you could cut. So, you know, I get it, the employees should get a 2% raise. There's a lot of employees that didn't get a raise. There's a lot of employees who lost their job throughout the state, this country. So I would just suggest that you be a little more rigorous. Think about it. It's real money, and the taxpayers have already paid a lot of that money. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Anyone else? Seeing no one, motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Before I hand this off to Margaret, there's a 175-page budget on the website. Draft of it was published months ago. The notion that there's not transparency is just pure nonsense. There's tremendous granularity. In terms of watching pennies, last year Allison Castellana came to me with a great idea, which was to put up a banner in the parking lot for the East Amwell students who were graduating. Because they weren't going to have a graduation, we thought it would be really nice to put up a big banner from the township congratulating them. That banner cost, I believe, $160. I thought it was a great idea, but I didn't feel right about spending taxpayer money to put up that banner. So I paid for it myself. We just started recycling batteries at the recycling depot. Those battery boxes are $65 each. We've already filled 2 of them. We're on our 3rd. The budget's so tight, the members of the recycling committee are paying for those boxes out of our own pocket. Castellanos paid for the first one. Kathy and I paid for the second. We have other members of the recycling committee who are paying for the next few. We also have someone from the rescue squad, I believe it is, who's paying for one. The notion that we're not being careful with dollars is absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Tim voted on budgets that had tax increases. He voted in favor of them when he was up there. It's nice to sit back there now when you're not on the dais and say, well, there are ways to do this. You had 2 months to come in with specific suggestions. You came in with nothing. This is nothing more than a political ploy. We're trying the best we can to cut the numbers. I'm not up here to be nice. I'm up here to do the best I can to run this town in the most efficient way possible, to give residents the best services that we can for the lowest possible price. That's why I took this position, was because I felt we could do better than our predecessors. And I think we've done that. We're doing things that haven't been done for decades, like chip sealing the roads, making our roads safe. I'm not thrilled about this tax increase. If the Township Committee wants to defer approving the budget after Margaret explains the ramifications of that, I have no objection, but I'm pretty confident that over the next couple months we're not going to know exactly how this money can be spent. It's going to take a while for the bureaucracy to figure that out. And there is only one area that I can see thus far that may provide us some relief on the budget. I can't comment on exactly how the freeholders are doing what they're doing. I can only comment on what we're doing here. and we put a great deal of effort into this budget. It started out with a much greater tax increase. My colleague, Mr. Sobieski, and I spoke the end of December. I told him that there was going to be a budget increase. His response was, we absolutely can't have a budget increase in a year that I'm running for re-election.
Are you kidding me,
Can
Rick?
we, can
No,
we
are you
get on
kidding
track
me?
here?
That's
Are you-
exactly what you said.
It's not what I said.
It is exactly what you said.
Where's the proof of that?
Mr.
huh?
Mayor, can we hear from Margaret, please?
I have
Yeah,
the
before
floor
we
at the
start getting
moment.
into personal attacks on me, buddy.
There is no personal attack. It is
You're
the
casting
truth.
aspersions on my intentions for not wanting to raise taxes, my friend. That's not fair.
You are being driven by a political career.
I'm being driven by a political career. So
Your
you can avoid a tax
aspirations-
increase next year. You're going to do it this year to screw me, huh? You think that's fair? Is that what you're trying to do?
You just admitted it, to screw you.
That's
A
what
tax
you're trying
increase
to do.
to screw you.
That's what you're trying to do, pal. You're
You-
playing the political game yourself. You've always been a politician. You lie to everybody about
You've
this.
got to be kidding.
I
Me, a
am not.
politician?
All right, come on, let's get back
You're
on
the
track
one
here.
who is aspiring to run for Congress.
Okay,
I'm not
let's go.
aspiring
According
to
to-
run
Look,
for
Mr. Mayor.
anything.
Hey,
All right, come on.
I'm not aspiring to run for anything.
Oh, really? That's why
You
you're
want to
getting
be a
buddy-buddy with our
congressman.
congressman, huh?
You don't care
Congress driveway,
about
right?
this
You think that's
town.
fair?
You don't
Chris.
care about this position.
Oh, I don't
you
care about, this
your
town.
political
I've lived
career.
here my whole life, Rick. You think I get paid for any of this? I don't take a dime, dude. I work how many freaking, like 30-something hours a week. I go to law school. I don't get paid for any of this.
You don't go to law school. You're done with
I
law
just-
school.
Okay, let's stop it.
I've spent the
Come
And
on.
I'm
2
sorry
years
you
going-
work 30-some hours a week. I work twice that many hours.
All right, stop.
No, Rick, you're
You don't
on
even
track.
pay property tax. You live with your mom and dad.
All
All
right.
right.
You don't even pay property tax.
Hey, Chris,
This
let's
is
get on
this is
track.
like embarrassing for so many reasons. Margaret, Rick, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Can we please hear from Margaret, because I think you have some valuable information to actually share with us.
Go ahead, Margaret.
Why don't you wait for John Mills to return, if you don't mind?
Where'd he go?
I think you probably went
Take
to
a
the
breath
men's
of
room.
fresh air.
Is he in the men's room, Kath, or did he go into the? He went in the men's room? Don't go in the men's room to check, but just see if he's out there in the hall.
Proud of yourself?
Chris,
For
come
telling
on.
the truth, absolutely,
Stop.
Chris.
Stop, Chris.
Absolutely,
You can
Chris.
do it
Disgusting.
after the meeting, but
That's it.
enough.
Disgusting.
Chris, I'm willing to take a lie detector test for you.
Stop.
Stop.
I'm willing to
Stop.
take a lie
Sure, let's
detector
do it.
test.
Yeah, go get it. Get the
Stop.
program.
No,
Yeah, you're
we'll
so-
both do it. I'm willing to take a lie detector test. It's exactly what you said. You don't want a budget increase in the year you're running for township
I don't want
committee.
a budget.
You don't care about
Stop.
the residents, you care about your political career.
Chris, stop.
Stop.
John,
You don't care.
welcome back.
All right, go ahead,
And
Margaret.
No pressure, Mark.
I hope we apologized.
Go ahead, Mark.
All right. The budget that we've introduced is $3,055,000. That's the same dollar amount of the budget last year. The reason for the tax increase is because quite a few of our revenues took a hit. We went through this budget so many times and cut so many different places. Right now, I can just attribute that the shortfall is in interest income. But we dropped in the delinquent tax figure we could raise by $26,000, and we went back to the budget, we cut more to bridge that gap. We dropped several $1,000s in the court system, and we went to the budget and bridged that gap. There's a point where we were just getting to there was nothing that we felt comfortable cutting again. As far as delaying the budget, we've already actually delayed it 1 month already. We've had planned to introduce in March and adopt in April. And I was asked to hold off the introduction to see if this Recovery Act was gonna materialize. As far as pushing it off, yes, you have done that in the past. Not the best practice. If we push it off another month, we're gonna have to do estimated tax bills, which is gonna be another expense to us. If we push it off another month, other than the Linville Road adoption, we will not be able to introduce any of our capital plans, which will put our road crew at a standstill. Because they're just about out of money for your regular road repairs. They had enough money to make it to these ordinances getting adopted. We would have to have another special meeting to adopt another temporary budget, because I only budgeted enough money in salary and wages and a lot of line items to get us to this meeting. So we'd have to have another meeting before the end of the month to get that through. Those are the immediate results or consequences of not adopting this budget. As far as the Recovery Act, I have spent way more time than I ever want to spend trying to research this. I also went through that 150-page thing. I kind of bailed out at page 100. There's a lot of vague information. There's absolutely no practical information for me to do anything about. People pick up little buzzwords in it and think that they can run with that. The best I understand from this is that, and I've talked to 2 sets of auditors, their best guess is that this money is going to be treated as if it was a, sort of like a grant, like a Chapter 159, that after we adopt the budget, we finally get notified that we are going to receive our $190,000. We have to pass a resolution to accept it. We have to send it down to the state to be approved. At that point, we can go ahead and spend it. But like with a grant, there's a revenue and there's an expenditure. They're even. They don't affect the budget in any way, shape, or form. They make the budget look bigger, but they don't change the tax rate. For this to change the tax rate, we'd have to somehow be able to use this as a revenue. To be able to use it in whole as a revenue, honestly, would have, to me, a devastating effect to the budget, because you'd suddenly drop the tax rate for these 2 years, and then that money be gone, and you'd have to raise the tax rate up a huge amount. I wish I could tell you more, but there is literally no guidance at this point. The only, my interpretation is that when it comes in, they said we're going to have to treat it as a grant, and that we can basically spend it on infrastructure repairs. I really wish I could give you more information, but I don't know. And I really don't think waiting a month or 2 that we'd have a whole lot more information. I think it would be, I think it would be more damage to us to wait. And I just don't see how that they're going to be able to use this to adjust the tax rate. I mean, there are some things that say that you cannot use this to lower the tax rate. Now, other people are interpreting it as, but we should be able to get the tax rate back to what we had. I don't think that's how it's going to work. But at this point, I can't tell you for sure. So, as I said, we went through this budget so many times. There was a much bigger gap. We cut quite a bit out, but there's a point where our budget, East Amwell Township has a very tight budget. We consistently spend 95% of it every year. My other municipality spends 85 to 87%. There's some room in that budget. This budget is extremely tight. So I'm not really sure where we could cut. I mean, that is up to the board. I'm just the person who's going to put it all together for you, but that is ultimately your decision of what you want to do.
Can you address the surplus issue?
Surplus issue, okay, you're right. When I came in here, yes, we do have some surplus. Surplus is a necessary evil. You have to have it. You're going to need it to cover sometimes, like situations like this, shortfalls. You are going to need it. When I came in, you had a pretty low surplus balance. It did increase over the years because I'm pretty conservative of how I budget. I don't take a lot of risks when I'm doing the budgeting. And the other long-term goal that I had is I knew that we were going to have to do long-term financing, because you had a ban when I got here, and that is going to have to be financed after a certain period of time. If you have a healthy surplus, you get a better interest rate on the money that you borrow. Since we did do that back in 2018, and we had a nice surplus balance, we are spending that surplus. We are bringing that surplus back down. We've been spending it last year and this year on capital projects. We've been able to get a lot of things done with the capital thing, buying new equipment, chip sealing roads. You have to have, whenever you do, you get a DOT grant, it's not completely funded by the state. I mean, the DOT grant we're doing here with Linville, they're giving us $278,000, but the whole project's probably gonna cost $375, so we have to make up the difference of that. And that's what I've been using the surplus for. We've bumped up the surplus quite a bit the last 2 years. We're not gonna be able to sustain that. This is probably the last big year of the surplus, and then after that, we're gonna have to drop it back down. On the upside next year, we will finish paying off one of our loans, so we will have that money to help us out. My long-term goal is, as you said, pay as you go. I don't want us to ever go into debt again. I don't think we have to, if we keep a healthy capital funding program.
And look, in all fairness to our predecessors, we went into debt to preserve farmland. It wasn't as though they were spending like drunken sailors. They picked the low-hanging fruit, and in the late 90s, I believe there was a point where we were $7 or $8 million in debt, which is huge for a township like East Amwell. That is the price you pay to have what you have today in terms of preserved farmland and open space. And that debt has been paid down over the last 20 years. As Margaret said, a tranche of it will get paid off in the not-too-distant future. But it's not as though they were borrowing money to necessarily do dumb things or waste it, unless you believe that spending money on farmland and open space was a dumb thing and a waste of money. I don't think most residents would view that as a dumb thing. But that's what subsequent generations on the township committee inherited, and that is what it is. So, again, if you want to defer approving the budget, that's fine. Deferring it till next month isn't going to do anything, because next month's meeting is even before the earliest date we could possibly get any money. So you'd have to defer it for months. July, August, and I think Margaret is right. We're not going to know much more then than we do now.
And it's gonna cause a problem with certifying the tax rate. The
My
county board, but I don't know the consequences of that.
my job is saving taxes. That's what I do for a living. I have no burning desire to raise taxes here. No burning desire to raise taxes. We labored to get this budget to where it is. The original increase was, I believe, over 6%. We've labored to get it where it is. You know, anyone who thinks that we're being foolish with the money, please show me where. Show me where. This is why we put a draft of the budget, so that people would have an opportunity to look at it and say, here, I think you can cut. There, I think you could cut. We got no input in terms of where we should be cutting money. Our employees are underpaid compared to their peers. Krista is grossly underpaid. Jason Silverthorne is underpaid compared to their peers. We work hard to keep them here rather than going somewhere else by trying to make this a nice work environment. And to try to give other non-monetary perks. There's nothing wasteful going on here. If people want to defer the budget, we'll defer the budget. I think it's a mistake based on what Margaret said. I think putting our road work on hold is a mistake. And I don't think anything's going to change over the next couple months, so I think we would be putting it off for naught.
Margaret, can we go back to the surplus to just address like Tim's issue or his comment? Can that be utilized to flatten the budget? Can monies be moved out of surplus to flatten the budget?
Yes, you could. You could move money out of there, but we're already using $500,000.
How much is in there, Margaret?
Let's see, that's on page 39.
It's actually sick that she knows the page.
Yeah.
39? You know that because 39 is the biggest pain to do.
Well, 39 is blank.
Sheet 39 or page 39?
Sheet
Sheet 39.
Sheet 39.
sheet 39. yes.
Sheet 39.
Okay, at the end of 2020, we had $708,000 in surplus. We're gonna use 500, which will bring our total down to 200, although we're assuming that we're going to replenish a good portion of that with, but I can't, say for any, so that's where it is.
So it would leave us with what, 150,
70.
70?
78.
Doesn't seem like a terrible idea, to be perfectly frank with you.
Can I ask, so I had two questions. So because we have the potential federal aid coming that we don't have guidance for and we don't know what we can do, but we could potentially use some of that to maybe fund other areas. I don't know, right? But that could, we don't know, but that could also potentially increase or get our surplus back to where it could be. We don't know the answer to that, but that's a possibility, correct?
No, that would not put surplus back in there unless you're cutting something else someplace else.
But if we used federal aid, like,
For the road work,
that's my point.
and
You
cut the
move-
road work and put that money into
And
capital.
then you take the money from that part of the budget and you put it back into the surplus. Like if
Correct.
you take so that's one way that we could replenish the surplus by using federal aid. It wouldn't be a apples to apples move, but you could substitute apples for oranges and slide something else over.
Yes, but you wouldn't have the federal aid till the end of the year.
But you've said that you like to keep the surplus and you like to have the healthy surplus, but if we had to dip into it in 2021 now, and then once we have everything is laid out and we understand what we're doing, we could potentially then at the end
Well,
of the
you're
year or
talking
next year
Surplus, are you
replenish.
talking about the capital?
No,
budget?
I'm talking about whatever amount is in here.
Because you have surplus is on one side, that's the revenue side.
Right.
And then you have the capital expenditure, which you put money into for capital improvements.
Right,
That's
but
the
you
other
said
side.
we moved surplus to cover capital, so I'm just saying if we replenished surplus.
Yes, we've increased the surplus because we've also increased the capital.
Okay, but so I'm saying that even if it was this year, maybe our surplus dips this year below what we would typically like it to be, but we could replenish that in, let's say, 2022 based on federal aid, if that's a possibility. And we don't know that, but that is a potential. That's what I'm hearing as a possibility. And then two, I'm going back to the marijuana dispensary conversation that we had earlier, where we're projecting, what was the number, Tim? 1.6?
128 a month.
Yeah, it was over 1.5.
Which we don't know if we could even get half of that in all reality, right? We don't know. But I'm just thinking, like, forward thinking that would be revenue coming into the
And
township.
that would be revenue, as a new revenue, I'm not sure how the first year would go as far as you can plan for it. It may have to be just something you bring in, and that budget year, you can't plan for it, and the following year, say you brought in $300,000. Now you can use that as a revenue source.
Yeah.
But the first year, if you don't know what's coming in, I don't know
Yeah.
if we would be able to even.
Yeah, it's better to talk
Anticipate it.
about numbers you know, which
It
are the
is,
construction.
but if we're
or
We
gonna
don't even
capital.
know
agree
if
to
the
an
residents will
ordinance?
be okay with
Right.
this.
So that's what I'm saying,
dispensary.
marijuana off the table, but
We have
let's
no
deal with the
idea.
numbers we know with capital, surplus, and potential for the Fed money coming in.
Yeah, I'm just forward thinking, guys, because like if we're talking about it potentially dipping into our surplus, what I heard tonight is that there's a potential promising way that we would increase revenue, not this year, I understand that, but in the future. So I'm just bringing it up. I don't know if it'll ever come to fruition, but
That's a worthy consideration.
I don't know, that's where my head went, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a bonus, that's over and above what we're talking current conversations. That's a given.
No, but
That's-
thinking like if we were to.
But again,
dip
it's back
into
to the
it, yeah.
surplus. If the surplus dips below what we're
Yeah.
comfortable with and what we've been operating with for the past few years, then maybe we lean into that and we say, okay, and we kind of are, thinking that, I don't know.
You can't count on that. You don't know if
Yeah,
it's
but the
coming.
Fed money we know is coming in.
Yeah.
So it's how we move the Fed money around.
Which was my first point, and
Right,
then my
that's what I'm
second was
saying,
just
yeah.
forward thinking about the marijuana dispensary, which again, I understand, we don't know, that's a guarantee, I clearly heard that, but. Okay, those are my questions, thank you, Margaret.
Any other questions for Margaret?
Just so I'm clear, $200,000 in surplus, and we're trying to fill a hole that's about 34,000. Still leaves us
170.
170.
Yes.
We gotta decide whether or not that's a comfortable number, right, as we move forward. Just a little tough to raise taxes on residents when we have the
Money's
money,
sitting there.
we have the money here
With a potential to replenish it.
with the potential to replenish it.
Margaret, what is the
What's-
downfall in using the surplus?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
A downfall if we use the
Downside,
surplus?
yeah.
Like, how,
Okay, because every budget requires you to use surplus to balance it. At some point, if you get too low and you don't replenish it for whatever reason, then you've got a problem.
And what's the loan amount that we're paying off next year? What, do you have a rough estimate of what that would?
I believe that's the bond payments that we're making, I think they're 435,000. Then there's also an interest payment, so I think 50-some thousand.
Do you pay that with the surplus? Or no?
Surplus is used to balance the budget, the surplus
Okay,
is just
okay,
one
okay,
component.
Okay.
It's not, you don't tie it directly to a revenue source.
Right. But you said that was coming off the books next year? Is that
No,
what
not
that-
the whole thing, no, only a
Not-
piece of it, that's 3 loans.
Okay.
So about 90,000, I believe, is coming off next year.
For next year, so that would then,
But on the other hand, we have another problem. We have been using open space funding to also bridge the gap in the revenue because some of these bond payments, like you said before, was open space. And we can use the percentage of the bond payment, we can take that funding from open space, which we have. And in fact, that's one of the places where we bridged the gap. I've been trying to lower it each year, and we ended up bumping it up another 25,000, because there is a point where I have to stop. We bumped it up 25,000 to try to bridge the gap with the issues we were having. Next year, it drops down significantly. So this year I budgeted 325,000, next year the most I can budget is 250.
Can I say something?
We're not
We're
open
close to the public.
I move we open to the public.
We already opened to the
We
public.
we already opened, we're
They can do it
closed.
by motion, I think, yeah. You know.
Is the discussion done?
Just give me a second. here.
Okay.
I don't see why we can't just by motion do it. Just not to be on the agenda.
Spoke, but I mean, what is like-
I can,
Has to be some end to the discussion.
all right, let's see for more.
Are you done, Mark?
Yeah, for now.
Margaret, anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so.
What do we do now, Krista?
The legal notice was published in the Hunterdon County Democrat on April 15th, 2021, and it was posted and available to the public since introduction on April 8th, 2021. You can motion to adopt, or you can
Defer.
defer.
Well, let me start first with the motion to adopt and see if the township committee wants to move on that motion.
Can I just put a pause on that for a second? If we don't, if there's a motion to adopt on the table and there's a no, Margaret, does that trigger the the tax, like, we'd have to reassess the taxes, and that would like, because the budget would technically be defeated by vote?
Yeah, then we'd have to
Okay.
go back to the drawing board. I'm assuming you'd have to advertise again for
So-
the following month to,
Whether you defer or deny, it's the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't get carried, really. You have to start over.
As far as notice goes, right? But even for reassessing the taxes and everything,
Yes,
even for a delay,
yes.
but it's the same budget?
But we have to do another renotice.
Okay.
And then, didn't you mention we have to then send out, we have to do an estimate?
yeah, one of my auditors said that, you know, if you push it too far out, you're probably gonna have to do an estimated tax bill.
What's
How
too
far
far
is-
out?
Yeah, how far out is too far out?
He told me if you adopt past June.
So if it's past, if
If you
it's,
adopt next month, you
We're-
most likely won't have to do an estimated tax bill.
okay.
So what do we want to do?
So if you don't do it tonight, then we'll have to have a special meeting for emergence,
Another temporary
the
budget.
temporary budget,
Okay.
because we don't have anything to move forward.
And you have to advertise that, so it has to be a couple weeks out? Does that
We
create a
can-
problem?
As long as you pass it before the end of the month.
Well, today is the 13th. I don't know, can we advertise it and have it by the end of the month? I know there's a
can have it
funky schedule for
advertised
advertising.
in next Thursday's Democrat.
Well, and then how many days' notice do you have to give?
If it's 10.
Well, next Thursday
That's the next publication,
would be the 20th. And is it 10 calendar days, 10 business days?
just 10 days,
Including that day?
30, so the
including
31st.
that day, not the day of the.
Then,
1, 2,
No,
31st is
it's
the
not
first
including
workable
that day.
day.
Alright, so
It's
right,
the first
that's
day of the
Memorial
hearing.
Day.
Okay.
It's not a workable day.
That's Memorial Day. I'm fine having a meeting Memorial Day if
Yeah,
you want to have
show
a
up.
meeting Memorial Day.
I don't care.
What is that, just to pass what we did earlier a few months ago?
To the
Yeah,
emergency.
Yes.
you do temporary budgets.
Are we
Keep
gonna
everything
have
running.
enough for paychecks?
What?
We're gonna have enough for paychecks?
Well, that's why I want it done by the end of the month, because that's when the next paycheck is.
Could we also, like, theoretically move to adopt with the amendment that we're gonna use the surplus to cover the balance?
There's no way.
You'd have to do,
Would be a whole new budget, right? Is that it? You can make like minor alterations on the night of,
I
right?
can
But
make
it
a
can't
minor
be-
alteration.
I don't think that's minor, moving 33,000 from surplus is not
Yeah.
a minor alteration.
Okay. So even if we wanna go that route, we'd have to wait till a future meeting regardless.
yeah, it would probably be best then to just wait
Okay,
till the
just
June meeting
5%.
to adopt.
Okay. All right, well, look, I'm of the opinion that we should put it off, see what happens with the federal money. If no good, maybe we consider the surplus thing. And then if that doesn't work out, then, you gotta pull the trigger and do what you gotta do, I guess. So,
Well, if we're going to do the surplus thing, I think we have to rerun the budget and publish the budget with the surplus thing, because if we come in June and then decide in June we want to do the surplus thing, we have to re-advertise, and then we're not approving until July. So I don't think just saying we'll deal with this in June is a viable option. Either we have to say we're changing the budget, or we should just approve the budget the way it is right now.
I don't think.
I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're changing the budget, or at least whatever his opinion.
Well, my opinion is use the surplus.
Well, that means changing the budget.
Right.
I'm for surplus.
Thoughts?
Yeah.
I think it's fiscally irresponsible, but I'm against using the surplus.
Well, how much do you want in there, Rick? I mean, what's a comfortable number? I'm not trying to be a wise guy, but what is it typically from year to year?
Me personally, I like, the person who trained me, he liked to have 25% of what your budget was to have in surplus,
Okay,
but that's about 700,000.
700,000 in surplus.
Yeah,
It's a lot of money.
At the beginning of the year,
yeah.
okay.
And there's
Right,
still.
so we start out with
Yeah.
700, and put 500 for capital, that leaves us 200, right?
Well, not necessarily capital, it's 500 to balance the budget.
Right, all right.
Any number of things can happen in a municipality, and $200,000 is not very much money in this day and age, and any number of things, unexpected things can happen. I'm not comfortable with 200,000. Dipping into it for another 33, on the hope that we can plug that 33 with revenue. We don't know if we'll see a nickel from marijuana revenue, because we don't even know if the residents are gonna be okay having a dispensary here. And we don't know at this point what we're going to be able to do with this federal money that will actually reduce our budget as opposed to spending it for things that aren't currently in the budget. So I think taking that surplus down below 200,000 is just fiscally irresponsible. That's my view.
I disagree.
We could also look at what parts of the budget, like line items, right? And Tim, I apologize, yours is the only one I'm familiar with, so I'm not pointing the finger at planning board. But let's say planning board had a line item in there and they've spent $0, which I know is not the case, right? But use Board of Health, I don't care, whatever it is, right? You could also say, okay, as of June, 10% of that budget has actually been spent, so therefore we're estimating you're not going to spend that full year's allotment, and so therefore we could also trim certain lines of the budget. I know that's been done, but it was been done a few months ago, so now here at the midpoint of the year, we could also, so it's not fully taking everything from the surplus, you know, perhaps that's another idea that we could go down. 'Cause
Here's the problem. You invariably have unexpected expenses, and in November you can move things around in the budget to cover those. If you cut every item in the budget to the bare bones, come November you have no money to move around to pay the unexpected expenses. Suppose there's a lawsuit in July. Suppose somebody falls, gets hurt, sues, whatever. We have to lay out money for legal fees. What do we say to the lawyer? You have to wait till next year because we don't have any money for this? You don't know what can happen.
Yeah.
What unexpected things can come up. Invariably in any business, you wind up having things arising during the year that you didn't expect. That's why you don't cut every item in the budget to the bare bones, because then come November, you're stuck. You have a big problem.
Normally I would agree with you, but I mean, I think this is special circumstances we're dealing with. The only reason we're in this hole is because of COVID, correct? And you know.
It's a revenue issue.
Yeah, it's due to COVID. So by the end of this year, once everybody gets vaccinated and we're hopefully putting this behind us, I would expect us to be
I
better
don't think
states.
trimming line items is a viable option, because it's,
But I also heard then, okay, so then another idea, then I heard we were using surplus to cover capital, or we were moving, and that's how we were funding a lot of our capital. I mean, since COVID has, you know, taken so much of our revenues, then maybe we also need to revisit our capital plan for the rest of the year and say, okay, we would really like to do all of these things, but because of COVID, we have to trim 20% of our capital plans.
COVID, this,
But we have to make decisions here, guys. Like, I mean, I get it. I don't want to drive on bumpy roads either, trust me, but.
you're going to continue to drive on bumpy roads even after we do them, because the chip seal doesn't take care of the bumpy roads. What the chip seal does is it makes the roads safe. And it keeps the roads from degrading to a point where we can't fix them with chip seal. We already have a number of roads that have degraded to the point where chip seal won't address them. We don't know how we're gonna deal with them, because,
Is that the entire capital budget, or is there anything else in there?
no, there are other things in the capital budget.
So then maybe we look at those too. Maybe it's not the safety of our roads, maybe it's another issue.
Well, we
I
could say to
don't
the
know.
DPW, don't get the chipper. Then, when the trees come down and our chipper is just about dead, and the DPW can't chip, then where do we pile, what do we do with it all?
Yeah, Rick, you're
That's
bringing up,
That's one out of multiple.
I don't know the capital budget right now, I'm just saying it's another idea, right? Like,
These are all ideas that were considered over the course of months in numerous budget meetings. We're not spending because we like to spend. We're not buying equipment so we could say, hey, look what we have and nobody else has. Our chipper is dead. It's being held together with Band-Aids. It's from the 80s. We have other things that are on their last leg that we couldn't afford to do this year. Some of our trucks are breaking down so often, so we're spending money to repair these trucks. It would be much more cost effective to go out and get a new truck, but we don't have the money in the budget. So we're already at bare bones. And I mean, a decision was made by the township committee that we were going to spend money to keep these roads from degrading to the point where they can't be helped with chip seal. Because with chip seal, we're spending $25,000 a mile. When the roads degrade to the point where you can't deal with them with chip seal, it is now costing you $250,000 a mile. That's why some of the roads in East Amwell, we don't know what we're going to do with them. Because we're not going to get a government grant because they're not traveled enough. And we can't afford $250,000 a mile. I mean, I live on one of those roads. Rynearson Road has degraded to the point where chip seal won't help it. The only thing that will help it is tearing it out and redoing it. Nobody's going, we'll never have the money in the budget to do that. Some of the developments like Harvest Hill, Sandra Road, those roads are degrading. How do we deal with that? Look, I'm not thrilled about raising taxes, but it's not as though this is something we just pulled out of the air and said, who cares? If you want to use surplus, use the surplus. I think it's fiscally irresponsible. You want to do it, that's fine. My guess is the chickens are going to come home to roost. Maybe not while this township committee is sitting at the dais, but they're going to come home to roost on this.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's, the counter argument to that is it fiscally responsible to make a decision now when we don't know the full other side of this, which is either the aid coming in and how we can redisperse that money. Mm-hmm. That's the other side, so.
We're not going to know though in a month or two.
We need an interim solution. So what do we need to do if we decide that we want to use the surplus?
We have to do the budget all over again. Introduction, notice.
Do we have to do a whole introduction all over again? Or just advertise?
No, advertise, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No.
Because it's a change. Mm-hmm. It's a significant change, so we'd have to advertise again.
Mm-hmm.
But do we have to reintroduce
No.
and then
No,
have a
don't
public hearing?
introduce. I was just looking at the bond law here, or the budget law. If you're only talking about increasing it, say, $33,000 for the surplus, there's a line that says increase or decrease of any item of appropriation by more than 10%.
This is only 5.
Would require, this is for an amendment to this. So I'm trying to see if we have to.
I remember when the first year I got on, there was a discussion about,
That's 1, 5, and 10%.
yeah, there are some technical rules when you start playing with the budget after you've introduced it.
It's 1%
We'd have to go back and look at them.
appropriations Of new appropriations, it's something like that.
We shouldn't shoot from the hip because we don't want to pass a budget that's invalid.
No, I think the best thing to do is go back, figure out what you want to change, re-advertise, and have it for June.
What
But in the
about,
meantime, you're gonna have to do a temporary budget.
Well, the only way to do it for June is to take it out of surplus because you're not
Yeah.
going to know, you're not even going to have the federal funds.
No, we're not, and I still
So-
don't think you're gonna be able to use federal funds in any way to balance the budget. I think it's gonna be considered a grant.
But,
So-
I mean, if we can use it for road work, though, I mean, that would just offset an expense
Yes,
in a roundabout way, right?
yes, but unfortunately, like I said, you won't know about it until this budget needs to get passed, that's more of
Yeah, we're
something
down the
that-
road on that
honestly,
already,
to
time-wise.
me, that's gonna help you for next year. That you won't have to budget so much money next year in capital because you've already had this money coming in.
which would then theoretically allow us to replenish our surplus back to a more comfortable level if we so decide, right?
You could, yeah.
Okay, so
Right, the
then,
announcement for the Fed money, correct me if I'm wrong, is June 11th. But the state of New Jersey reserved the right to have 2 30-day extensions, right, of actually how to
Correct.
distribute the money?
That's why it
Yes.
says June 12th to August 12th.
That's what I'm
So
saying,
then to your point, Mark, we should just vote to what to do, because
So
if not, we're
it's-
waiting till August.
If you add a new item of appropriation in amount in excess of 1% of the total of appropriations as stated in the approved budget, or increase or decrease any item of appropriation by more than 10%, or increase the amount to be raised by taxes by more than 5% unless the same is made to include an emergency temporary appropriation only. That's when you would have, that's for the amendment to the budget. That's when you have to do the noticing.
Right, but if we do the noticing, we could, and we do it timely, we could reconsider the budget in June.
That's correct.
What does that do from a payroll perspective?
Well, I'm saying you're still gonna have to pass a temporary budget.
Mhm.
You're still gonna have to come in here on Memorial
March
Day and pass a
31st.
temporary budget.
And then we come in and we
Then you,
vote
then
on
in
the
June,
new
you'd have
budget
the
in
regular
June.
budget, yes.
You okay for that?
If I have to be sure.
I have no issue coming in on Memorial Day.
Okay.
Same.
Mr. Root?
Daniel, I know you're watching at
Close
home.
to the
If we're not home on Memorial Day, please text me.
Are we able to do it any earlier in the day on Memorial Day? Do we have to wait till 7:30, or could we do it like 12 in the afternoon?
You can
Do
do
it
it.
at
You mean when you
whenever
wake
want.
up?
Let's do it at 8 a.m. Okay.
No, it's Monday, I'm gonna be up early that day.
I say we do that.
Yeah.
I
Good
mean, that's
point.
my
Yeah.
Good point.
I agree.
stance.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm with it.
Because I'm canceling my plans.
We'll be at
Well,
it.
why don't we do it at 8 a.m. or so
it's
that,
fine.
no, seriously,
do
so
it
that
early.
people have the
That's
day.
it.
Yeah,
We
let's
can do
get
it at
done.
7
Good
a.m.
idea.
I don't
I'm fine
care.
doing it at 7.
I won't
I
go to
have
sleep.
an
I'll just
8-month-old,
go-
so we're up at 6.
No,
Allison
I'm away
won't
all
be
Or
here.
4, actually.
Could Pam fill in?
Let's do that. I mean, that's my opinion. You speak up.
That works for me.
Yeah. I'm with it.
It is what it is.
Sorry, Chris.
So what do we need to do now?
So you have to make a motion to, and then we'll do a roll call.
Motion to defer till,
The call is to defer.
Yes.
all right, I guess I move we defer the budget.
I don't know. That's what I want to make
Defer
sure.
because we're making an adjustment. I just want to make sure I hear this correctly.
I don't know how
Defer
specific
for
does it
purposes
have
of
to
making
be?
an amendment in the future.
You just have to say you're deferring.
Defer.
You're
to make
deferring
it-
the vote.
You're deferring the vote to make amendment.
To make
Okay.
an amendment.
Is it a motion to table? Is that it?
I think it's just
You
what you
just
just
did
said.
it. A
Oh,
motion
okay,
to
okay.
Defer because you're making an
defer
amendment.
for an amendment.
All right.
Second,
Second.
And you do a roll call?
I'm gonna do a roll call, yes. Mr. Castellano.
Yes.
Mr. Mills.
Yes.
Ms. Ramsey.
Yes.
Mr. Sobieski.
Yes.
Mr. Wolf.
No. So I assume then the rest of these, well, the second ordinance,
You
Uh,
can
that
do
has
the
nothing to do
Linville
with,
Road
okay?
adoption because I have enough money in capital improvement to cover the down payment on this.
Okay,
But
so
all
let,
the other ordinances that were introduced for capital, they're off.
That's 16, right?
Yes, 16. all
and
my
hang on, let me
ordinances
mark
there are
these.
off.
They're the introductions.
These are the
And
introductions.
first reading, right?
Right, so we're not doing 11,
11, 12,
So-
13, and 14 are off.
so no, 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 no. But we are doing,
You can do the bond ordinance adoption.
we could do the bond ordinance, that's D, 2109.
Yes, that's for Linville.
Okay, and we're gonna do obviously 10, that has nothing to do with the budget, and 11 has nothing to do with the budget, or sorry, 8 has nothing to do with the budget.
Who?
Here. 10,
Oh, you read the ordinance number. I'm looking at
Right.
the same B, yeah. All right.
okay,
Oh, he's the
Okay.
number.
It's
Letter.
just,
all right.
figured out.
So,
Okay.
are we done with Margaret?
Yes.
Margaret, thank you so much.
Thanks,
you,
Margaret.
Margaret.
We'll have a glass of wine.
For me.
So you waiting with the chain or something?
Your last name.
Knocking around the head.
All right.
Thank you, Margaret.
All right. The next ordinance, I will recuse myself, and either Mark or Chris can introduce at 2110.
It's adopting.
I'm sorry, yeah, and then I'll come back, just yell when you're done, and I'll come back in? Okay.
Want to introduce it?
No, you're deputy mayor. I mean,
Okay, that's no problem.
It's just adoption, Mark.
All right. All right, so we're looking to, is he out?
You go. Door shut.
Darcy, is he gone? Ellie's more. All right, thank you.
Do we close the door or no?
All right, so we're looking to introduce ordinance, adopt ordinance 2110, appealing ordinance 20-16 entitled Noise Control. So, you want a motion for this? Motion?
This was the redundant one, right?
Right,
this
right,
is-
we're getting rid of the
Basically,
redundant
We had two
noise
two
ordinances.
noise ordinance, and we can only have one,
One.
so it's just taking the one
Right.
off the books, so to
Understood.
speak.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right, I need a motion, right?
This legal notice is published in the Hunterdon County Democrat on April 15th, 2021, and it was posted and available to the public since introduction on April 8th, 2021.
Roll call.
Now you need a motion to
Oh,
adopt.
can I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Castellano,
Yes.
Mr. Mills,
Yes.
Ms. Ramsey,
Yes.
and Mr. Sobieski.
Yes.
All right.
The adoption notice will be published in the May 20th, 2021 issue of the Hunterdon County Democrat. Is he here?
Yeah, he's got him.
All right.
You know, I got a whoopee cushion. I can put on this. I didn't start any.
We don't have a lot left, right? Let's try to get out of the way then.
Just don't entertain it.
No.
Yeah.
It was really
That was good.
But it took me a long circle to get around.
I didn't say anything. It's been sitting here the whole time.
That was a good call.
So, just so everybody knows, I just wish I got this.
This? Two.
This?
That's been happening since I started.
Did you leave?
This is,
Can we continue?
You want cough drop by any chance?
Do I look sick?
Augments. Does anyone want a
Cough
lifesaver?
drops. Cough
I don't want
drops.
a cough drop. I want a butterscotch or something.
I want
Oh,
drink.
Krista. Krista,
I'm
cough
good.
drops.
I'm good.
I have butterscotch.
I gave her a
You
whole
do?
bag. I gave her a whole bag.
They're almost gone.
You've had those for so long. I remember getting
Oh,
them
I
like
get
I
it.
can't believe you haven't eaten all of them. They're
Okay.
delicious.
Gotta go
No,
pay your
share them with the
taxes.
public.
So we're
Oh,
that
I did that
window.
already. I did that already.
It's at that window.
I had like 15 of them in my bag. And just randomly.
All
picking
right,
them up.
ordinance 21-08. This is to amend our stormwater management ordinance. Our engineer prepared this amendment in response to changes in the state law. Could I have a motion?
This legal
sorry.
notice was published in the Hunterdon County Democrat on April 15th, 2021, and it was posted and available to the public since introduction on April 8th, 2021.
Could I have a motion to open to the public?
Oh, I always forget that part. Go ahead.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone want to speak about the stormwater management ordinance? Seeing no one, could I have a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Could I have a motion to adopt ordinance 21-08?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Castellano?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Ms. Ramsey?
Yes.
Mr. Sobieski?
Yes.
And Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
The adoption notice will be published in the May 20th, 2001 issue of the Hunterdon County Democrat. Before we move on, did any of the public want to talk about the prior ordinance?
Which prior?
Noise
The
ordinance.
noise ordinance?
No, we have a hearing on that.
Okay.
Shit.
Okay. Ordinance 2109, which is the bonding to pay for the improvements on Linvale Road. We bond to pay for these until we get the state grant, but this is covered, 278 is covered by the state grant. Could I have a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone from the public want to discuss 2109? Seeing no one coming forward, could I have a motion to close to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This legal notice was published in the Hunterdon County Democrat on April 15th, 2021, and it was posted and available to the public since introduction on April 8th, 2021.
Could I have a motion to adopt ordinance 21-09?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions?
Mr. Castellano?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Ms. Ramsey?
Yes.
Mr. Sobieski?
Yes.
And Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
The adoption notice will be published in the May 20th, 2001 issue of the Hunterdon County Democrat.
Okay, item 16, all those are off the table because they all pertain to the budget. So we go to item 17, unfinished business, summer playground.
Summer playground. So it was raised on whether residents outside of East Amwell could join summer playground.
We've had that in the past, haven't we?
I was
Yes.
always told that no, it's always been only available to East Amwell residents.
That's not true, because we have residents of West Amwell that go to our school.
No, but that,
I think it's open
different
to
thing.
all
East Amwell
East Amwell
school
children.
children.
Right.
Thank you.
Sorry. Yes.
so you're talking about non-East Amwell school children?
Yes.
Have we ever
Well,
had,
that's always been the non-East Amwell residents that go to East Amwell school by choice, through choice. Yes, it's been on.
Right, but this
No,
is
took
for
about-
this is
This
for
is for kids that
kids
don't.
that don't attend.
Totally separate people. So
Right,
totally
non-students.
separate.
Yes,
Yeah, I
non-students,
think we're on.
no resident. Is it something you want to allow if we give first come, first serve to our students and residents, and then if there's extra slots?
What is determined as extra slots at that point.
What do
You've
we
got to
do?
go on this head count ratio basis that we've had last year, if you remember.
Yeah, well, Tara keeps a head count,
Right.
and she keeps me notified of the count and says we're almost at our max or what we're at. And that's like, we had people come in, we did last year have, there were East Amwell residents, but like their grandchildren were coming to stay with them for the summer. Those kids attended. But it wasn't until towards the deadline, after the deadline, when we filled those slots. So I made that call, but it was already past the deadline. But it's revenue for us,
Yeah.
to a point. If we make revenue, if we,
did we have an overflow last year?
Well, you
no.
remember last year there's different factors, right? So we had a ratio last year was much lower than would normally be, and probably lower than will be this year. I don't even know what that ratio is, and that's going to have been changed, I assume. Last year it was like 1 to 12 or something. We had to stick some crazy
Because the kids had to be separated. They had to be
Therefore, I
separated the whole
had
time.
to, but there was a lot of kids that applied to come, much more than we thought.
We had 100 kids last year.
Therefore, had to employ more people.
Yeah.
Right, so it's,
So-
you want it to be a wash that fees coming in pay for the whole program.
Right, so if we get over
You need
100,
to
hiring
balance the
another
balance.
counselor,
It has to
Right.
be
May-
balanced.
That's what I'm
What
saying.
throws
But
out
if
of
we have
whack?
100 spots and we're past the deadline, and say there's 5 spots open, and someone from the surrounding community wants to attend, is that something you guys would allow?
Can you, Tara, because I don't have an issue with this, but I think like the ratios, the making sure that if we had to hire a new counselor, it would pay for itself with like the additional revenue. I don't have an issue with that, but can we talk about that a little bit more? Because I think also we need to see like, are we talking about neighboring communities? Are we talking about people from like North Jersey?
No,
Like,
it'd
I
be
don't
like
know,
Delaware
right?
Township,
what's
West
wrong with North
Amwell.
Jersey?
How
Yeah.
can you restrict it? How do you restrict it?
Because they have to register.
No, but I'm saying you can't restrict, yeah, well, if you restrict numbers wise, I'm saying you can't restrict it's gonna be from Delaware or whatever, I mean, yeah.
But like we
But
have
the
to
numbers-
either hear from Tara to see, like what is our max number? Is it 100? Like
Last year was,
It's based on the head count and the counsellors that you're paying, you've got to.
right, but I'm saying like the school could theoretically, the school itself holds 350 people. I'm not a fan of upping our numbers to 350 for summer playground, but if we say that our max capacity and what we feel comfortable with, and it's fully outdoors and kids are running around wild hopefully this year, last year they were not, right? Like I want to know what our capacity is, not based on number of counselors, on like what actually, like Tira, who's the director of the program, what she feels comfortable with. And if that's 100 or 120, then yeah, let's talk about it. I'm open to it. I just want to put some more
I'm not
guidelines
averse
around
to
it. Yeah.
But she gotta have a conversation Allison,
Yeah.
you, and
I wanna talk to
Tyra,
people that
Tyra.
know actually what they're doing and are there every day before we come and decide it.
So why don't we just simply authorize Tara to make the decision after she consults with?
Thank you.
I have a very vested interest in this. I will have 3 kids. Lucas just texted me. There's your call out, Lucas.
So you can, you can have a conversation with Tara over it. Tara's already noticed.
Okay,
of
perfect.
it.
I'm happy to do that on behalf of you guys.
That's
And
good.
It.
if I think it's like so groundbreaking, I will certainly let us know in the next meeting, but I'm happy to do that.
You're in charge of that.
Do we need a motion
For
or
you.
something?
No.
No, it's
All
only
right, I got you
discussion.
covered. Sarah will be good. Don't worry.
I'm not worried. She just got a red belt. I'll take one. Go.
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, me?
You're,
Oh, for the property
Yeah,
maintenance
you're
ordinance? Okay, so, the Ringo's Village Committee has been tossing around this idea to deal with some of the vacant structures in town of implementing a property maintenance ordinance. I know it's something that we've talked about in the past on this board, prior to you guys coming on. And, never really went anywhere, but we really wanna try to get something done. So basically, an ordinance like this would require that anybody who has a vacant property register with the township and pay a fine of, it depends, you can set the fine to whatever you want, but it would be some sort of fine. And essentially, that would be a means to kind of inspire them to do something with the property, make it, make improvements to it, change hands, make use of it. So, what I also was thinking about, well, not I, but what the committee was considering was the idea of combining this with another thing where, but this is kind of in its premature stages, the idea was to implement some sort of carrot and stick approach, right, where we're looking into ways to get grant funding to help, these homeowners and, business owners or property owners, I guess, generally speaking. Maybe get money from, the USDA via grants or, low interest loans and, use that, give them resources to improve their property while at the same time saying, hey, if you guys don't take advantage of this, we're gonna have to come, we gotta do what we gotta do to, improve the village. So, I figured I'd put this on the agenda to get everyone's thoughts on it and whether or not, it's worthy of looking forward or moving forward on that. So, I will open it up. Do you guys have any thoughts, comments?
What are you actually asking for? I don't think I follow.
So, the property maintenance ordinance, right? We
Yep.
implement that,
Yep.
right? The ordinance says that if you have a vacant property, you have to register with the township. You pay a registration fee every year, depending on what you want to charge.
So
One
is this
that was-
like that one house that always comes up in Board of Health? Is that like what you're talking about?
next door.
Is that vacant?
Mhm.
It would fall under that.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, this is township-wide you're talking about?
Yes, it would be a township-wide, you could,
Well, no, it won't because it's for sale, so it's not.
okay, well, yeah, there's, very infant stages, but it's an idea that the committee really feels strongly about, so, that's why I wanted to see what the rest of you felt about.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Chris, I have a hard time hearing you.
I'm
over
sorry,
there.
I speak very quietly.
I'm not sure what you're
Let me take a.
proposing. I know it's,
I don't have a full proposal yet, so a property maintenance ordinance, I'll go through it again. We passed this ordinance, it says that if you have a vacant house, right, you have to register the vacant house with the township. You pay a registration fee, either that year or every year, as long as it's vacant, right? So you're paying essentially what is a fine, but, so, if you're the owner of that property and you're like, oh, I got this, this empty house and I'm paying a fine on it every year, I really need to do something with it because it's just making me lose more money. So it's a means to kind of get the vacant properties into new ownership or to fix them up because, as you're well aware, there's a lot of them, not just in Ringo's, but there's a few scattered throughout the township that are.
what kind of numbers are we talking? How many vacant houses would you say?
Do you have any idea, Kristen? Well, that's the thing, we don't know because we don't have an ordinance like this.
You'd be amazed how many
150.
vacant houses
You
there
have
are
at
in
least-
East
According
Alabama.
to the COA stuff,
You
there
have
was
at
a
least 4 right here in the village.
well, no, according to the COA, if you dug through all that paperwork, they approximated 150 in the township.
Which would be 10% of our
10%,
houses.
approximately 10%.
That's
Wow.
probably on the high side, but when he and I were door knocking in 2019, you'd be amazed at how many houses we knocked on the door, those houses were vacant. It's amazing how many vacant houses there are.
Yeah.
And the
So the-
effort of this is to try to get the ones that
That are-
have been let go
Yes.
aesthetically to potentially not let that happen anymore.
To
because-
fix them up or to change ownership.
But the,
Some are falling down.
Yeah,
Yes.
you know, no, I can, yeah, I
But-
drive through the village,
But, yeah, but complementary to that was the idea of getting grant funding or low interest loans to help these guys out so that they can do that, right? And maybe we would defer any kind of enforcement action against them if they're taking viable steps to restoring the property, because that's the ultimate goal. This isn't a way to raise revenue, this is a way to
Yeah,
just,
no.
we have so many properties that are falling apart, and, people are sick of it. You've heard it, everyone here has probably talked to somebody who's like, wow, Ringo's is really, it's kind of gone. So, we have to do something.
So wait, you're trying to figure out a way to assist them, not necessarily,
Carrot and stick, assist, but if they don't take the help, then, well,
because
we
these
have
are
to do what we have
probably
to do.
houses we're not getting tax revenue from, right? They're
Oh, you'd be
probably,
surprised.
they're not
No,
paying.
you're getting your
No.
property
You'd
tax.
Oh,
be
yeah.
surprised, they're paying on dilapidated
If not, we
houses.
go in there,
Foreclose
yeah,
and
I
whatever
mean,
kind of thing.
or sell, and then somebody ultimately would foreclose.
No, pretty much everybody's paying their taxes.
I wish I had more information about the grants and loan stuff. I spoke to someone from the USDA earlier this week, and we're in the process of setting up a meeting with a couple representatives from the Ringo's Village Committee, and
So this is from
All
the
of my
Ringo's Village Committee,
Yes.
this is just one of the ideas that you guys
Yes.
are, and you wanted to bring it
yeah, to see what you guys thought about it. Support, yay, nay, want to learn more.
Definitely would like to learn more.
Okay, well, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
come back next month. Hopefully we'll have this meeting with the USDA.
So that's
guy.
my opinion, I don't know about
Yeah.
you guys, but.
Yeah, sure, I think it's worth
Worth looking into.
Definitely
answering a
need
few more
info.
questions.
Are there any vacant homes that aren't falling apart? Just curious. Did you
Tons.
guys-
Yeah,
Tons.
they're
Yeah,
nice houses, some even the lawn are manicured, but the house is vacant.
so like that's the counter of that,
There's one right
Is
on
that,
Jingle-
like,
John
people
Ringles
that
Road.
just don't live there, they would be paying
House.
theoretically
Yeah,
a
well,
fine, like,
there's-
which kinda stinks,
I
but.
think you can do it, and Kristen might know more about this, you could do vacant or like bad repair. Like there's vacant that's in good
Dilapidated.
shape, but then there's, bad repair that's just vacant as well. I didn't explain that clearly.
All vacant properties need to be registered with the township,
That's how it works. Okay. Yeah.
Are they?
but we don't charge a fee right now.
Mhm.
But it would be nice to have some kind of enforcement with that, kind of keep their feet to the fire,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
to speak. But
Yeah.
I'd be curious, I'm sure you guys would
Yeah,
do
I
this,
think
like,
you
to find out
gotta
what
have
other
a
towns are doing
little
too.
more
Yeah.
info and
Yeah.
make
No,
it a little more
certainly.
complete.
Drill
Again,
down a little more.
infant
Yeah.
stages, yeah, but, I mean, if
Cool.
you guys, all right, cool, so we'll, I'll keep plugging along with that, and,
Okay.
hopefully have something to report back
Thanks,
with next
Chris.
month, no worries.
Alright,
Okay.
are we open to the public?
I guess, I'll move to open to the public,
Second?
all in favor? Everyone's cool?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone from the public want to speak?
Yeah, I'm just, if you have a,
George,
George Paring's, 40 Gavaski Road. If you have a maintained house that's paying taxes, that's vacant, you'd rather have a house that's full of kids? Is that what you're saying?
No,
That possibly could happen, and then you have to school them and bus them and then worry about,
well, right now we have a vacant property ordinance.
great. I understand that.
the point isn't to go after,
But what is
Yeah.
the point?
it's to go after the not to go after, but to have something done about the properties that are falling apart that are vacant,
To give them more, can I speak, because I'm on that committee?
by all means.
To give, I don't think our house would be affected by it because we maintain them. But to give,
No, they're saying vacant.
I understand that, but we are there for storage purposes. So, but what they're talking about is some of the homes, I'm not gonna bring up names because then we'll be here for another 4 hours. But some of the homes are, if the person gets a little bit of a nudge and say, look, you'd rather spend $1,500 registering your house every year, like that's vacant, or we can help you try to get some of these grants where they could fix it up and then potentially sell it, and then the money from the home would go, I think it went back, it did go back, like part of it would go back to some of the grants that we looked at. There were
Yeah,
different grants.
I think so.
There were a couple different
Yeah,
ones, but
yeah.
so it kind of gives that person a little bit of a nudge, like, oh, the township is trying to help us by helping us get grants, but
Mhm.
if somebody says, "Ah, screw it, I don't want your help," okay, then you're gonna pay whatever.
Yeah, because
they
you're
decide.
dragging down the quality of the rest of the neighborhood and negatively impacting other people's
Because
home
some of them
values.
just look bad. It
Yeah.
just-
fire.
So, yeah, I mean, look, if anyone has any other good ideas on what to be done about these properties, I'm all ears,
The village committee is on Monday night,
Yeah. Shameless plug over there. So, yeah.
When,
hopefully
when
that
the,
answers the
when the
question.
property market turned in 2007 and there were lots of vacant houses because people fell behind on their mortgages and they just left. But the properties weren't technically owned by the bank yet. New Jersey enacted a law that allows municipalities to impose significant fees on vacant properties. And it was in part designed to encourage the banks to step in and cut the lawn, et cetera, maintain these vacant properties. That's really all I know about that law at this point. One would have to work through it carefully to make sure that what we're looking to do is legal. But it was designed to, in effect, impose a penalty on people who let houses sit there vacant.
Yeah, there's actually a company that does the work for you.
They'll do the
Just done our
paperwork.
research.
They do the paperwork.
And
Yeah.
there is some advantage beyond imposing the fine. For example, right now I'm been getting complaints from a resident on Old York Road about a vacant property and they can't figure out who owns it. Here, if you make people have to register and pay a fee, you can always then figure out who is the contact person for the property. So there's an identity advantage to an ordinance like that.
Exactly, exactly.
If you try to go beyond that and force people to maintain their properties, then you're probably getting into constitutional issues.
Yes.
You can't say to people, well, your siding needs to be painted, you have to paint it. I mean, in homeowners associations, you could do that. People buy into those,
Yeah.
so they
That's a
sign
different
on to it from inception.
Yeah, we're not a private community.
Yeah,
But you can't just go
No,
off
no.
and start doing those things, or you're potentially violating people's property rights.
Yes, but at the same time, if you're allowing excessive overgrowth and there's,
Correct.
little critters.
That
running
can be a
around,
health
Yes.
hazard, and
that- well,
and
that's
you
kinda
can
what
get
we're
that
trying
under
to get
health
at.
laws.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But I think we already have that kind of ordinance.
Yeah, we need to just look at it
Yeah.
and
Big
modify
assessment.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, anybody else from the public? Francis?
Still Francis Gavin, 123 Lawrenceville Road, accept no limitations. I would like to thank John, Mark, Chris, and Tara for listening and then taking some action. And wish she were still here, but I understand she doesn't want to be. Compliment Margaret on what a coherent, organized explanation of where things are and why she was promoting what she wanted to have, and that you guys took a listen to think short-term, drain the reserve a bit more, long-term, let's put it in, and once you figure out what the tax rate's gonna be, if it's the same as it was, I'll pay my taxes early for the rest of the year. I'll do my part to give you the money to spend, but thank you.
You're welcome, Francis. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Are we still talking about the ordinances, or is it general?
General.
General.
open.
General.
Okay, can I talk first?
Yes.
So Darcy Parent, now I gotta think of where is it?
40
Garbassi
Forty
Road,
Garbassi.
she is. I just want, the farm project, it's like the friggin' flags with the village, it's a thorn in my side. But, as Francis said before, Lindsay said, just a little bit more transparency on this, because as your Hunterdon County Director for the Vegetable Growers Association of New Jersey, I've been getting a lot of calls on this as well from small farmers who are from this area but have no idea what the hell is going on. So, again, you could sit behind COVID until we die and say, oh, because of COVID, nobody wants to talk. But they're now calling Rutgers Extension, who's now calling me, saying what's going on, and how long have I had this position? 2 months? I'm like, all right. So, there needs to be more transparency. The farmers, and a lot of them could not make it tonight, and as you notice, Kit came in a few minutes late, George brought homework, because we have planting right now. So a lot of us couldn't make it tonight. The ag meetings,
we tried to organize it 2 months ago so that we got a lot of the farmers that wanted to come, because my thought process was if we start professionally, just clear the board, go to the ag meetings, talk to the ag meetings, John would be able to bring back to this meeting and tell you what happened at the ag meetings, and then we're not here until 10, 15, 11, or whatever. Last I tapped out at 10 last night. It was done. So I think the farmers need to be involved, whether it be planning board, whether it be Parks and Rec, whether it be anything that has the word farm or farmers in it. Be a small farmer who grows a row of arugula, a micro farmer, farm to table, harvest moon. The man grows all his own stuff, and when he doesn't grow, he gets from all local farmers, including his straw and hay that he uses. You know, like there's a lot that people are just like not talking about because it doesn't fit into what they want it to fit into. So I think the farm project, anytime and it should be a separate meeting. They shouldn't be at a planning board meeting because there's no reason why anybody should be out till midnight, sitting here waiting to only hear, well, Tamara has meetings with a couple of the small farmers, but who are they? Who are these small farmers? I said to you at my meeting with George, where we're on YouTube, we're famous now on YouTube. My friends in Bayonne think it's hysterical. So I'm all for it. You want to have a farmer's market? Do like we do. We go to the county. We already have a farmer's market. We have the DeVore market. We go to Stengel. We have 3 new markets we're going to this year that are all in the county. Go ahead, have it. But the problem is you need to support the other businesses, and I just wonder, who are all these small farmers? Like, nobody is coming forward, and I've sent letters as your director for the county. I've gotten people from Clinton, Lebanon, West Amwell, all over the county, and then it's all the same people that have showed up for this meeting. If they had something to say, why didn't they come to the farmers meeting? The project should have its own meetings so that we can all come and not waste everybody's night, because it's my son's birthday, and I came here just to say that, hoping that Tim Willie would be still here so I could just say, Tim, just keep us in the loop. That's all we want, is to be in the loop. Because I hear from the county that this person had a meeting with this person at the fairgrounds and this happened and we don't do this and why is this happening? And I don't know what's going on. I have no idea what to tell these people. So somebody's got to keep us in the loop, because this is our livelihood. You guys all live in developments and you go to work and stuff. He's got to go finish what he had to stop to come here tonight so that he can make sure that his 1928, it's on my sweatshirt, 1928, his family came here, bought the farm, and has been, this is all they do. This is it. So we need to be in the loop. It's not we're the big, I laugh when you guys talk the big farmers, because when I go on my Farmers Wives page, they're like, we're tiny compared to what the farmers are. You go to these other county meetings and we're all small. Like we're not these huge farmers. Everybody grows something and everybody has the entitled to sell it. But no one has come, and we brought it up at meetings. No one's come to Sweet Valley and said, one person came to Sweet Valley, one person reached out to me and asked me, hey, how do I get into the farmers markets? How do you get into all these markets? Why aren't they asking? Who are they asking? They're asking people who don't farm, who have no idea they don't farm. So why are you not asking the people who know and do this every single day? I am not a farmer. I am a farmer's wife. He tells me what to do, puts me in the tractor, and I go with the baby on my lap. I go. And that's what we do. So people need to start asking us, all of us, not just having meetings. And I don't know who it was, but I'm pretty sure, Rick, you said it at was it the planning board meeting? I could have a meeting with Chris, Kit, anybody, and then come and say, well, Chris told me this, Kit told me this. Unless that person shows up to this meeting and says it, I call BS, because I want to see the person say it. I want to see them say it. Tam sat there and said that she talked to all these small farmers, and then when we are all farmers, when we showed up, nobody ever reached out to any of us. Nobody reached out. We had to reach out.
We're not in here, we're not bullying, we're not intimidating. This is our livelihood. It could rain all summer, and guess what? We're broke. We won't have anything. None of us. We all have loans, tractor loans, car loans, house loans, farm loans. We won't have anything if the weather's crappy. So for other people who don't live this lifestyle, and it is a lifestyle, you don't do it for money. You don't. And trust me, I cried in a car dealership the other day when my 18-year-old, who makes more money than we do, bought a brand new car, and I sat there hugging the car outside, and he just kept pretending he couldn't see it. He's like, I don't see what you're talking about. So it's not, you don't do it for money. You do it because he gets up every day and smiles, and it's exciting for him. And when he bought a 1975 tractor the other day that's rusted out, and it made his whole day. The guy smiled like a little kid getting a new Matchbox car. It's not for money, but we're entitled to know everything that goes on when it comes to making decisions for our lifestyle. This is our lifestyle. We don't come to you and say, this is how you should do your job, this is how you should do your job. I'm not a lawyer, I don't work for J&J. I would never want to be a state trooper, God bless you. I have all my friends are state troopers. My little
They were my younger days. I'm way past that.
But I wouldn't want to do it. But I would never stop you on the road and be like, well, this is what we're going to do. Like, so it's just a respect thing. You have to give us the respect and keep us in the loop because, again, I'm getting calls from the county. I'm getting calls from other people in other counties saying, what the heck is going on in East Amwell with the farm project? It's kind of embarrassing at this point. So that's all I'm asking for is transparency. I don't need comments. I'm not here for comments. I'm not looking to start a fight. I just want what his family has busted their butt for, what the little guy growing tulips is busting his butt for. Everybody has to have a second job as a farmer. They all have second jobs. It's just, it's the way, we're not out in Nebraska. It's, here you have 2 jobs. So it's, having a small farmer's market is not gonna make the little guy rich. It's not. Having him come to Sweet Valley and say, hey, can you sell my organic lettuce because I know that you don't grow it? Yeah, absolutely. Maybe John Joe says, you know what, I can't sell it here. So then you go to Georgia and say, hey, can Darcy take this to the markets? Can they sell it on the 202? Absolutely. We're more than happy to help other farmers. That's what we do. It is kind of a corny community. And I apologize that not everybody can show up tonight. They've been texting me this whole meeting. It's just, it's not a good time. You can catch us November to February. It never happens. So, but that's all I wanted to say. Again, we just want to be in the loop. I hate getting calls from the county and they're asking me and I'm like, I don't know anything about this. And then I look through minutes and I don't see it said anywhere. So that's all. We can go home now because he's done.
Anyone else from the public? Seeing no one else, motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just one comment before we move on to the bills of the evening. After the farm project meeting the next day, I got a number of phone calls from, I guess you could call them small farmers, or people interested in becoming small farmers. They had intended to speak at that meeting. They did not speak at that meeting because they were so intimidated by the behavior of the farmers. They often referred to it as a gang mentality. Let me read something to you from Facebook that was sent to me. I'm not on Facebook. I only recently got an iPhone. I had a flip phone up until recently. I don't do Facebook. And I still don't really know what to do with this. I know how to make phone calls and that's about it.
That's like a man purse.
Well, it holds the iPhone. Kit Christofoli, you can watch the 3-hour video, haha, Bench was a superstar, referring to the 3-hour video of our meeting.
Yeah.
Jeff Spencer Jr., Kit Christofoli, should I load up the side slinger and head for Town Hall? Kit responds, I would say Town Hall, but I probably have a few other locations for you. Jeff Spencer, Kit Christofoli, time to armor the bulldozer. Kit Christofoli, yes. Andrew Van Doren, Vandora Welding LLC specializes in heavy equipment repair and armament. Now, you're laughing about that because you think that's funny, you think that's a joke,
Well, it was out of frustration.
okay?
Very frustrated that night, so,
That just says to me that you're tone deaf.
yeah,
You don't get it.
okay.
In this day and age, saying things like that intimidates people. It scares people.
Okay.
Talking about arming a bulldozer.
Oh, God.
A lot of people don't know what a side slinger is, and they're thinking it's a firearm. That you're talking about coming and shooting people.
Okay.
You think that's a joke. You think that's funny. You know what? It's not a joke. It's not funny. Scaring people isn't funny. Intimidating people to try to get your way isn't funny. That's why these small farmers won't come in and speak. We are closed to the public. That's why the small farmers won't come in and speak. Because they're concerned what you might do to them. So if you want to know why they're not coming in, why you're not seeing transparency, look in a mirror.
Can I make a comment?
No, we're closed to the public for
Can we
now.
talk about the comments that your wife put on Facebook?
Yes,
Let's talk about them.
read them.
You want me to read them?
Read them.
Well, they're not even.
Read the comments. Read them.
Okay, I think we need to,
Can we?
I think we need to stop this.
Yeah, this is not productive at all.
I'm happy to read the comments that my wife put on Facebook.
To me, it sounds like you're supporting businesses in exchange for votes. And that was confirmed by your wife by her text exchange.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
You don't have Facebook.
Read her the case.
I have Facebook.
She can read you. She has them. She could read them verbatim.
All right, this isn't high school.
You can look
We gotta
over your
shut this
shoulder.
down.
Yeah, can we shut this down? Because this is really inappropriate.
You opened it. You opened it. Now that I'm calling you out, you want to shut it down. You want to talk about my wife posted?
Well, let's
Talk about it.
The meeting's closed, so we'll
Okay, I'm gonna,
No, Kath, let it go. The meeting's closed. She doesn't want to hear what you have to say. Kath, let it go. Let it go for now. Let it go. Let it go. She raised it and doesn't want you to talk about it.
All right,
Come on, let's just get to the
can we
bills.
stop
Let's
this?
go.
can we have a motion to approve the bills, please?
I move we approve the bills.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr.
Correspondence noted.
Castellano.
The bills, by the way, team.
Mr. Castellano.
Oh, yes.
Mr. Mills.
Yes.
Ms. Ramsey.
Yes.
Mr. Sobieski.
Yes.
Mr. Wolf.
Yes.
Correspondence is noted. I move we adjourn.
Does anybody have any questions or concerns about the administrative reports?
No.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody questions on correspondence? Motion. Oh, we don't need a motion for correspondence. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.